Good evening, free enterprise fans. I hope you are all having an absolutely excellent evening. I am Scallakitty. I am your restreamer. Uh, for those of you who know when I restream, it's a little odd for me to get on the mic. But that's because we have something very, very special to announce. Um, of course, we kind of did have to keep this ever so slightly under wraps. That's why officially the name of this flag set was nothing suspicious here. No, there's totally not going to be a super cool announcement or anything. But we might have something in store that we are now really happy that we get the chance to announce. So we are very, very pleased to announce the Fabul Gauntlet. It is going to be our next free enterprise tournament. It is going to be a 1v1 tournament. It is going to be kicking off in February of 2020. We are going to have all the different info for you. But one of the mainstays of this gauntlet will be that we will have 5 random objectives in every seed, and it's going to be a wonderful challenge for all of our racers, and I hope that all of you are looking forward to it. Inven, Baka, are you all looking forward to it?
Oh, it's going to be a blast. I'm real excited. Baka, what do you think?
I think this is going to be really interesting. We haven't done 1v1 much with Free Enterprise, so this is going to be very interesting for us. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes.
Yeah, one of the things that we've not really explored previously with Free Enterprise is the 1v1 concept. With the new additions in 4.0 having the bonus objectives, you're going to see a lot more thought into routing, into strategy, instead of it mostly being, is the moon haunted? I hope not. Or maybe that's just my personal experience. What do you think, Baka?
I think we're going to see a lot of, with the 5 objectives, we're going to see a lot of hardcore checks on how do I most efficiently clear the objectives I need to go to, because yeah, as you said, there's not going to be a lot of gambling unless you're looking for a key item or a boss, but you're going to definitely need to be clearing very efficiently and getting through just a lot of the seed. So it's going to be a very different type of dynamic compared to Zima Zone, I think.
Absolutely. And of course, we are doing our first ever Swiss option rather than having huge, group stage and then, you qualify for, the little 4-person pods or anything. We're going to be doing Swiss for, depending on number of signups, 5 or 6 rounds. And then we're going to be going into single elimination, best 2 out of 3 brackets until we're down to a final 2 and only one person will reign supreme. There's also going to be, by popular demand, a flag set change. We've strived to balance a little bit of the differences between World Series of Free Enterprise, roughly a year ago, and Zima Zone, where instead of having, one constant flag set all tourney, we get the variety both from the random objectives, and there's going to be a difficulty bump once people make it to the bracket stage.
Indeed, that was something that was a good escalation in the first Highway to the Zima Zone, and something that I'm excited to see come back, because it's nice to go and see the stakes get ratcheted up with the flags as things get closer and closer to the end, and the runners are under more and more pressure to do well and show off their best as they get closer to the end of a tournament.
Absolutely, and as is tradition, the winner will receive their choice of Zoroma Sprites and Free Enterprise tunes, and both the winner and runner-up are guaranteed inclusion in the 3rd iteration of Highway to the Zima Zone coming later this summer. So there's a lot to play for, and I'm excited to see how people do in the 1v1 style of play.
Yeah, this seems like it's going to be a very exciting tournament. It's going to be exciting times for Free Enterprise, and it's going to be an exciting race tonight that we're going to have, because we're using the same flags for tonight's race.
Absolutely. So a good little intro tonight. Should be fun to see. And we'll get this race kicked off soon, folks.
Yeah, let's go kick it over to the race, and let's see how it's going to go. I had the thing happen where there's a tech thing happening in the background. None of you worry about it.
Tech is always fun for us, and
Tech is always fun for us.
Tech is my middle name, actually.
It is?
No, not really.
I was about to say, I'm like, I think I know your middle name.
That's your excuse to get out of IT, though. You say,
Okay.
my tech's my middle name, so I can't go and work in this.
Anyway, here we go. Let's go ahead and get the race started. I'm going to leave it with you, Inven and Baka.
Hey, sounds good, Scala. Thank you again. Love to have those announcements. Great news for everyone. I know everyone's been, building up the anticipation since the previous Zima Zone tournament. I think any bit of burnout is long since past, and people are ready to test their chops again.
Indeed, new year, new tournament sounds like a great way to go and get into this. And this is going to be certainly a seed for us tonight with a Yang start. That's going to be a little slow to start, depending on who your second character is, but we do have T standard and S standard, so maybe we can go and find some stuff in chess to help accelerate us. But this is going to be very determined by the 5 objectives we get tonight.
Absolutely, and that is one thing that's kind of going to be included in this design, is that the bracket stage is going to be a little friendlier. We are seeing that T standard, C standard, S standard, a lot of the standard standbys that we've seen in prior tournaments. Of course, the economy in Free Enterprise has changed with the 4.0 upgrade. You're not going to be able to turn a chemist into a pure white mage just by virtue of having those items. So a lot of strategy is going to change between these two tournaments. And let's see what we're starting with here tonight.
I think Kane is certainly not a bad start. I think I saw some Star Bells, which will certainly make early fights a bit safer if you encounter Gold as a Wyvern. Just need a good weapon for Kane. I think this party's set to start really taking out stuff. But where they need to go is going to be determined very heavily by what they get after they launch their airship.
Yeah, and that Yang start, he's a little bit slow, but Kane, just with the sheer variety of weapons and armor he can equip, early fight's not going to be a problem, and the Magma Key opens up the world significantly. So seems to be a kind of a kind starting set here. Let's see if the objectives make it any ruder.
Well, that's certainly... I mean, some people like looting the Troya treasury, right?
Well, I mean... So it is very kind that we have the combination Troya Treasury and Tower of Zot. Those are two things that you can do with only one key item. As soon as we find the Earth Crystal, we know that's 2 objectives off our list. But our seed roller tonight, Natara, has given them a Magma Key start, but you still have to launch the Falcon. You still have to find the hook somewhere and go all the way through Upper Babel as well. It's not so trolly, because at least we do have really good grind options underground. If you just need levels to get through those fights, you can get them. But the fact that you have to take both paths underground at some point on a seed is a cheeky good fun.
And there's no, I just can find the pass and go to the Zeromus, because you still have to finish that Masamune altar, so you're going to go and need to get to the moon as well, which is just that extra bit of trolling, because you have so much saying, I can just do Earth and get my crystal and I'll be good to go, and then you have to clear the Masamune altar.
Yeah, and which I love the Masamune altar. For those of you who need reminding, that is the final lunar altar before you reach the Zima. It's actually in the first level of the Zima Zone, the crystal part of the core. So if you're really cheeky, if you're feeling really confident in your party, you could fight that fight next to last, not save, not heal up. You get a free heal before Zeromus, and just walk on down. No need to backtrack if you have that level of power and confidence. Of course, that just means that we're going to end up having the Earth Crystal or the hook there, so you're going to have to do it anyway.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not going to go and be free or easy. And I really hope that pass is somewhere extra trolly just to insult people who find it, and they still have to go up to the moon to hit that altar and come back.
Yeah. We do have quite a bit of deviation between our 4 runners right now. Valvis and Maryland are kind of side by side. They did a little overworld looting and then are heading down underground. Mecha already went underground and is giving us our first beat. Okay! The Earth Crystal is in the Rat Tail chest, so that's 2 objectives out of the way, and the loot of the Troya Treasury will be delightful to get. Miyari Noko has decided to go straight for more of a vanilla path, heading into Antlion Cave. If he finds Pan here, this will definitely cut off quite a bit of his routing going forward.
Oh yeah, that's going to go and make that Fabul check very painless for them, as they'll be able to just single dip that Fabul, never come back to it, and feel real good. Meanwhile, Mecha with that Earth Crystal, we have to loot the treasury anyways. It's pretty early. You want to go and loot some chests. It seems like a fine place to go and try and pull out some items.
Mecha, by the way, peeking this purple robe just to check which flavor of Mylon it is. It is Mylon Z, not Mylon and Friends. Kind of not a bad fight to see in these Famar spots. The Baigan fight at Asura will be really rude, just because it has 3 different parts that are all hitting you super fast. But that Mylon fight only does 1 target at a time. So find you a white mage who can cast Blink, get a decent bit of armor, and that 35,000 HP is not nearly that intimidating.
No, and we do find some very nice things in the Tomra shop with Moonveil, or excuse me, not Moonveils, hourglasses, silkwebs, and exits, which will be very helpful for this team, as exits are great for going and getting out of obnoxious dungeons. And another thing with Mylon Z, Yang starts with a Fire Claw, which will do bonus damage to the Mylon Z, and we can still find Moonveils around if I'm not mistaken, so find one of those, and the fight is free, though maybe a bit long at low levels.
Yeah, you won't find them in shops on S standard, but you can still find them in chests, I believe. Seeing here some of those economy changes on Mecha's screen. Both Hourglasses and Exits for sale here, but Hourglass 2 is now a whopping 6,000 apiece. Exits, you're paying 2,000 for. Kind of motivates doing Zot a little bit more if you have Rosa, and if not, adds a little bit more value to Porum. Kind of a maligned character a bit during previous iterations of the game, but now that you can't duplicate White Mage, an entire White Mage's skill set with just J items without paying out the wazoo, I like Porum in 4.0. Fight me.
I mean, I'm fine with Porum until I have to rely on her to heal at Zeromus. Then it's, do I really need to heal with Porum, or try to go and do a different strategy? But I definitely agree with the changes to the shops, having less items to go, and I could go and take Porum, or I could buy a better Porum from a shop and make all of my characters Porum. That's not really a big thing to happen now, and Sirens are another item that is just much harder to go and find and acquire and get good quantities of, as something people may have noticed from the Highway to the Zema Zone that has changed with the 4.0 full release now is shops are not always guaranteed to sell everything. You can go and have seeds where you don't get cabins, and you can have seeds where you don't get other really nice items. The safety items will still be around, though.
Yeah, you're still going to find life potions, cure 2s, and star veils in the overworld, which brings up another one of the flags that we're using here. The basic starter kit gives you a few handfuls of these required items. It kind of can motivate you doing certain things that were just outright dangerous to do back in Zema Zone. You wouldn't want to rush up Ordeals until you found, ideally, a way to camp, ideally star veils, just in case you do run into Golbez, Wyvern, these kind of fights. Now that you start with a little handful, they probably won't get you through the full game, but you're not going to feel that compulsion, oh my gosh, I have to go do a complete shopping tour before I dive deep into, Baron Castle or up Ordeals, where there are these sequential boss fights one after another.
Yeah, they'll definitely stagger shopping, because you can still go and find rather important items. I am very fond of Cure 2 potions, and I find the longer I go without those, the more underprepared I feel. But with a starter kit, you can definitely go and make those trips into Ordeals, trips into Baron Castle, and some of those checks without needing to go and spend as much time shopping, which I think will add some interesting diversions for our runners.
Yeah. Fabulous here fighting the Lunar duo over in the Fabul Gauntlet location. I like seeing the use of that Cure 3 to kill the back one. I'm a huge fan of in the race mode going for speed over efficiency, and Cure 3, very strong healing item, but whatever, let's get that dragon down and keep moving. And a Twin Harp. Are we gonna get music this seed?
I hope we get music. I would love music. We've got the dream pair of Earth Crystal and Twin Harp, though might be a little early to go in there.
It is really nice that those two are so easily combined, just because I think it's going to give us a higher chance of getting Twin Harp music on stream tonight. Everyone's going to get a Twin Harp from Fabul. It's a spot that you nearly never pass up on for a full seed, and I think at least one of our 4 racers is going to give us the tune.
I certainly hope so. And also, we see that Mecha is looting that Troya treasury now, and he doesn't have to go all the way down in. He just has to open it up, it seems. But all these chests. It's still early. Maybe he can go and pull something good. And meanwhile, speaking of pulling something good, Murray went and found Rosa on Hobbs, which I don't believe many of our other runners have found.
Nothing too exceptional in the treasury. One notable thing is that for the Swiss rounds and for our community races this week, we are running S Standard. S Standard is kind of the old T3, or pardon me, T Standard is kind of the old T3. So loot is pretty much the same no matter where you get it. If you advance to the bracket stages, that T Pro flag is going to make the Troya Treasury be at an extreme premium. It'll be weighted to have higher tier gear, but even without it being weighted, it's just so dense, you want to loot it.
Yeah, especially if you get it this early, that's a bunch of money where things are more expensive. You're not going to be able to go and I believe we didn't see many people buy stacks of Tier 3s early on, and throwing 1 or 2 at those dragons definitely went and put Val back a little bit. But I think we're going to go and enjoy some of the other items we can get from here. And we
Absolutely. Miare finally making the jaunt underground. Going to be headed that way soon. So if you were in this race and you were, in these shoes, where would you go next? Would you go Baron in, up Ordeals, or would you try to make your way through some of these other options?
I see that we started with a Siren. I would be tempted to go and try and find some way to make that work to get some experience on Kane and Yang to get a bit of an extra start. And if I could grab that Rosa from Hobbs, I would definitely want to go and get her up a bit more. And that would be my plan, actually. Go get a few characters, pop that Siren early, get some extra experience, because I have to go to the moon. I'm going to need to get some big chunk of experience for that, or I'm going to by clearing the stuff there. I would rather go and have that extra experience now, burn through things faster early, and worry about getting additional experience later some other way.
Absolutely. We did see, again, those hourglasses for sale. 6,000 GP may be quite a bit, but it would freeze that Dragon Egg in place. That plus a Siren could give you a huge jump on the opposition here.
Agreed. And again, Yang goes and really needs those levels. Rosa would get very close to having Berserk, if not guaranteed to have it, which is going to be pretty big for this team. We don't go and have Bacchus wines around very easily, so I would I definitely want to go and try and get Rosa, get some levels. And then of the choices I have available to me, I think maybe Twin Harp and Earth Crystal would be the best bet. You get the 2 crystals, 2 items there. You have 2 fighters, so you can go and beat through whatever is in the Twin Harp spot without worrying about that magic resistance. I would like to see that.
I'm a fan of it. Mecha here, heading up Hobbs, going to be rewarded with a Rosa as well. The convenient thing about getting this Earth Crystal early is that I mentioned one of the key advantages that Porum actually has over Rosa now is learning the exit spell naturally. But since we have to go up the Tower of Zod anyway, we're going to get it through that through the plot activation, since we can't get it through levels. So that's convenient.
I very much so agreed. And with the need to find Cecil, Zod's definitely going to be attractive, even if it wasn't an objective, as we want to find this guy. We need to go and have him in our party. And Zod's a good place to go and check for him. 2 character spots, not a bad place to go and look for a character.
I mean, you don't have to keep him. And so we may see someone who, okay, so talking about some of the objectives you can have with the new, random objectives. We don't have any boss hunts. Whenever there's a boss hunt, Ordeals gets a huge premium. You have 3 bosses up there in a row. We don't have any of those tonight. And if you think you can make your team do without a Paladin Cecil in play, I could see racers kind of fading Ordeals this seed.
I'm not going to disagree with you, though. Cecil's a very powerful character when you get some of his weapons, and those weapons tend to be pretty common when you're making a lot of checks. So I would definitely be biased towards grabbing a Cecil and clearing Ordeals just to really rip through as much as I can, because you might need to clear a fair bit of the moon to go and find that hook. Also
true. And that's really the big troll we're kind of hoping for here. The Magma Key early, pretty nice. The the Earth Crystal in the freebie Rat Chest in Feymarch, pretty nice. So Darkness can't be gating itself, so it's somewhere on Earth. The hook is kind of the one hanging here. Of course, I could say that, and then Cecil could be at the end of the Giant of Babel. So plenty of room for things to take a turn for our racers here.
The big troll I'm disappointed we're unlikely to see is someone going and getting the Falcon, parking it at Zot, and then having to go and walk to use their pass if they get sent back to Earth for other reasons.
Hoisted by your own Falcon, yeah.
Look, it's red. It clearly goes faster, right?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Valvalus has pushed up into the Tower of Zot here and is facing off with an Asura, only having a Yang and a Kayn. Val did not go and pick up that Rosa. So it's just these two, and has done the double Starveil strat to get those the healing stopped on Asura. But this is still a lot of HP at the Maga Sister spot. It's, I believe, over 8,000 HP. Just the two of them doing the work here. No anti-mage weaponry, I believe. This is going to be rough, but it could have a huge payoff with those two characters afterwards.
Yeah, those characters can definitely help. And Kayn, I saw, did close to 1,000 damage. Maybe Valvalis found a rune axe or something, or maybe Kayn just has some good strength boosting gear and is making good use of a Blizzard Spear. But yeah, this is not the fastest spot, but with two characters, you're pretty likely to go and avoid getting killed because, well, Asura is going to go and toss her heals off on you, and with only two targets to choose from, it's not very likely she's going to go and punch them 6 times in a row and not heal them once.
Yeah, but Night2 pointing out in the chat that it also depends on how long the Starveil lasts. If Asura gets a heal off by that Starveil evaporating...
Definitely not the preferred timing for that. Is that, yeah, that's a very good point. If you had a relative agility 1 anchor, you might be able to go and keep that going forever, but now we're in a bit of a hairy spot.
Yeah. That Secret in chat asking, why don't you do Lifelock? This is kind of a tricky spot to do, and Lifelock can be hard to do with only 2 characters. It can be a situation where the Asura can just get a turn off. Val luckily does have a big stack of Starveils, had the second one beyond the starting kit. So able to get it back on Asura, may be able to pull this off afterwards.
That's definitely a good recovery, because I don't believe I saw any Cure 4s come out, only just a couple Cure 3s, which are about half of what Kayn's doing with jumps, so that will save a bit of pain for Valhalla Skunk. Meanwhile, we see Mecha is clearing out the Antlion Cave and getting a Leviathan. Marilyn is going and getting her Rosa, and Marinoko is going and finishing up Fabul and getting their Twin Harp. So Valhalla Skunk is definitely pushing the most unique ground so far.
Absolutely. You know, in these big plays, especially in a multi-party race like this, because our community races, you know, just have tons of people involved in them. And if you want to take that first place, sometimes you have to make a big gamble, especially, you know, just how great of racers there are in the community now. If you're trying to win just through, you know, relatively vanilla pathing, someone may just get a little luckier than you and beat you to it. You make the big play, and you could take home a huge win. So I'd like to see it, especially on the restream. It's always fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I agree. If there's a Fasoya in this Zot, that is going to be a huge advantage for Valhalla Skunk. Meanwhile, Mecha did go and make another play by themselves and is checking the 2 early boss spots of Waterfall Cave and Mist Dragon's Cave to see if Mist Dragon's hanging around, because we might not need to hunt bosses for objectives, but we do still need some key items, and Demas can hold them. They might still be up on Ordeals.
Absolutely. So never forget these checks. Next thing you know, you're hunting Mist Dragon, you know, as far and wide as you can, and just not able to get that key item. So excellent thing to remember, just to keep in mind anytime you have no free key item as one of your enabled flags, which we do tonight.
And unless I'm mistaken, we don't have C maybe turned on, correct? So we should see all of the characters in the vanilla game.
Correct. Although there are going to be some restrictions on the character settings in the bracket stage, this Swiss stage flags that we're sampling tonight, C standard, J abilities, all 12 characters will be found somewhere within the 13 spots with 1 duplicate, and that duplicate, well, it's the Yang here in Baron M. Oh! And Pain Man right behind that relatively easy first fight. A very slow spot. Mecha can probably Cure 2 his way through this. but still a kind of a nasty surprise to be waiting for you right after that first battle.
Oh yeah, I agree. And we see Velveluskunk is through that Ashura and has found Palom, one of the favorite characters. And if there's a reason to use your Siren, it is for Palom to get them Quake.
Yeah, getting up to that level 23 is such a key breaking point on the Quack Kid. Level 19 for Virus is nice. Level 23 for Quake is so good. And if Val runs up Hobbs and grabs that Rosa, gonna have 5 characters, and double XP will be enabled for anyone 5 levels behind the party median, which I think that with that addition of Sid right there, Palom is pretty much guaranteed to be there.
Yeah, unless Palom gets a good amount of experience from this upcoming fight, I agree. Palom's going to be ready for a slingshot, and even a mini slingshot from an egg will go, and Quake is a good spell.
Yeah. Note that we do have the Earth Hammer just picked up, and we have the Dwarf Axes. So back row glitching Sid is easy, and the Earth Hammer, not going to slow him down as bad as the Axe would. I'm going to give a nice little strength boost. Accuracy's still a little lackluster, but not a bad pickup in the tower here at all.
Yeah, and push comes to shove, you give Sid that Dwarf Axe, he doesn't gain much speed naturally, so he can be a pretty good endgame anchor with just a Dwarf Axe.
Yeah, but let's see who's here. As Rivers is pointing out in chat, this is a pretty rude boss spot. A lot of things here can cause you trouble. And already having to go through that Asura fight, let's see see how hard the karate fight is going to be hitting here.
Few hundred to Yang in the front row, so not terrible, but I don't think Palom is going to be surviving this fight very well.
That's not actually a big problem, I think. We kind of want Palom to stay in slingshot range, especially if there is the chance of doing a Siren for just a whopping 68,000 from a single egg for the kid. And with the armor on Kane and Sid, I think Val's going to be okay here.
Yeah, it looks like he's prioritizing trying to keep Palom up for the moment, so we'll see how he goes from there. He's throwing a Blizzard, just throwing items out to go and get extra damage with his characters. Just emptying his inventory, trying to hope. And we find Fu is at the package on Murray no Koko's stream. My goodness. That's
You know, it's a little bit of a time sink, but if you're gonna sink this amount of time into getting a character, I dare say Fusoya or maybe a Cecil if you already have a Crystal Sword are the 2 places to do it. Gonna eat a bit of time. You have to go through a cutscene fight here. You have to walk to Kaipo, another cutscene, but there's so many bosses around here that Fu can take down to get powered up. And just having that high-powered black and white mage online is going to be great. Mecha, by the way, has found our bonus round as Maryland. D-Miss is up on Ordeals.
so no hope of even anything extra coming from this Kaipo check, but Demus and Ordeals, not a bad spot for it, because if you don't find Cecil early, you don't want to do it, and this could lead to something pretty spicy. Maryland.
Val has cleared the karate fight, so GG's Val going to be escaping with that Sid and that Palom, completing yet another one of the 5 random objectives tonight. Let's see what the key item reward is after this bold play that actually went rather well.
Agreed, and with the characters he picked up, I don't think Velveluskunk is going to feel too bad about this. And if they get Darkness from here, that's definitely going to go and give them a bit of an advantage.
Oh, I see that blue robe do a back attack, and I hope for the alt gauntlet, but no, it's just Water Hag. So Ordeal's looking like a very easy play here. You're going to get plenty of experience from the very easy D-Miss. That's a bonus key item check. Water Hag's only going to take 3 hits to knock down. Whatever's in the Crystal Chamber will only have 1,000 HP and not a lot else going for it. So, Ordeal's looking like a pretty good play for both Mecha and Maryland here, too.
And apparently just a Stardust from Earth Crystal, but Inven, I don't know why would you hope for a Gauntlet backtack at Ordeals when we can hope for an alt Gauntlet at the Masamune altar.
I mean, that would take care of everyone's grind options. For those of you who've not paid a lot of attention to the changes in 4.0, there is an alt gauntlet now. Instead of just fighting the same 16 foes from Fabul, they're replaced with 5 fights with monsters from your surrounding area or areas of comparable difficulty. So if alt gauntlet is at the Masamune altar, you're going to see behemoths, evil masks, red dragons, just utterly cruel fights, but ones that give a lot of XP in turn.
I I want it. I want to go and see that, and I want to see people go and just really get stuck dealing with those nice 3 dragon stacks or those double evil mask fights.
And here we go. Marilyn is about to receive the key item on top of Ordeals. Just an Artemis bow, so not a lot of value there. We're gonna have to wait and see what the Mist Dragon gives. Oh, oh.
Looks like someone doesn't want to see a holy paladin brother today.
I love this fight here. It's so not threatening, but it's such an annoying time sink.
And it's just for an art. Well, yeah, it's just for an Artemis bow. You can just walk out and check the item from D-Mist, but if Cecil is somewhere deep in the seed and you can't get him early, like behind a hook on the moon, and you go and have your levels afterwards, not necessarily going to go and give you anything. So this is definitely going to be a bit of a gamble of, do you wait through Golbez's speech and lovely pet, or do you just say, you know what, I can do without actually using Cecil, I'll just find him somewhere.
Yeah, well, I will add too that Marilyn and Mecha have not seen that foo behind the package. So on these flags, with how expensive sirens are now, grinding in the Giant of Babel with a Tella or a Fusoya who already know weak is very handy, and Ordeals is the only way to get that spell on Tella. So it could be kind of like the long view, taking it, if I find a Cecil, great. He can now do cover, do weapons, etc. If I find a Tella, great. He'll have his full spell suite. He'll be the utility knife we love to see. And it's only 1,000 HP. But there would be definitely that temptation to just hit the reset button and run back down.
Oh yeah, and Murinoko, speaking of weak, did just get it on their Fusoya after finishing the Waterfall Odin. So that's a nice thing to pick up if he finds a Darkness Crystal somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the addition of Fu to Miyare's team changes his path when he eventually goes up to Zot. Val had a little bit of a struggle getting those boss fights done early, made it through very admirably. But now let's see how quickly you can get through here when you already have Rosa, when you have a Fu with some good spells under his belt. We may be seeing quite a bit of catching up going on Miyare Noko's screen.
Agreed. I'm curious where Val is going to go next, because Val does have 5 characters now. They've leveled up, and I don't know if they have anyone in slingshot range, because Rosa would have gotten double experience from this spot, and that's not a low experience spot. Palom has survived the Zot fight, so Palom's probably not going to be too far behind Kane and Yang. Interested to see what their next move is.
Yeah. Well, I kind of appreciate this play as well. There are 2 different paths you can take there. Saving, if Val does have that Siren that we've seen on some inventories, saving it till you have 10 key items to do maybe a double gold dragon fight on the moon, maybe do a triple warlock fight with all the life glitching you can do. Very viable options if you think your team can handle these fights now, and just save that, bonus XP for a time when you really need it to push through something.
Agreed. And looks like Val is choosing to go straight into Dwarf Castle, not going up Ordeals, not I don't believe they finished Baron N either, so they don't, unless I'm mistaken, they do not have their rat tail from Baron N. But let's see.
Yeah, a lot of zigzagging going on here. We're going to see a lot of revisits from our other players. Life potions for sale in Dwarf Castle, very nice to see. And it looks like Val is going to heading on into the throne room. Let's see what 2 bosses await him here. And also keep a close eye on Miyare Noko. I'm just curious what spells that Fu does have and how quickly he's going to tear through this Asura and this Karate fighter.
Oh yeah, and we see that Mecha is using their siren now. They've got a 4-person party, so no slingshots, but they found a coffin in the open Troya treasury, so that gives Rosa Berserk, which with 3 punchers, it's not a bad use in my opinion.
Yeah, having Berserk and Blink on Rosa puts her in great shape. Mecha's also going to have a pretty easy time going through the Zot bosses whenever he heads there. But this Fu, I'm excited because again, that time sink to get the Fu and to power the Fu up, I'm interested to see if Miare can gain that time back on the back end.
Yeah, Fusoya is definitely a better damage source than most anything that Velveloskunk has open to him right now, as I don't think his Pal even has virus at this point. He might get it after this fight, provided he survives, but this spot's a bit reduced because Dr. Luge is a bit of a jerk and steals a bit of the experience from the spot being in 2 parts.
Yeah, kind of funny to run into one of the multi-part bosses in another multi-part boss location. That way everything is still kind of nice and low. If you go fight a singular boss form, either here at the doll spot or up at Dr. Luge's vanilla spot, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, why do you have this much HP? So it's kind of nice to be able to have a little bit of it cut out by, say, not having to fight the Balnab-Z part of the fight. Pretty nice.
Oh yeah, that's skipping Balnab-Z is a very my experience is if you're getting to Balnab-Z, you're probably going to get an exploded character.
We are going through these fights. I'd like to point out a couple of the new Fab palettes we're seeing in action tonight. We have a lime green Fusoya down on Miare Noko's screen. It's just for fun. It's not a reference to anything, but he didn't have any green rocking, so he does now. And Rosa is rocking, I believe that is her Vaporwave palette. Everyone got a Vaporwave palette in keeping with the theme that we had with Highway to the Zenith Zone 2. And that's Rosa's.
A very nice, interesting palette, in my opinion, and it seems like Fusoya, well, Murinoko went for double wall strats on Ashura, so Fu doesn't have any spells that can bypass that wall, it seems, and is just knocking things down, and that spell list is not the best, unfortunately. Weak is the best spell from what I can see.
Val, meanwhile, finds Plague in the second spot. Val knew there was a Lunar boss waiting here, able to peek it when he turned in the Earth Crystal. Plague's not a bad one here. Weak to spears like that Blizzard Spear of Cain's we just saw to hit for over 1,000 damage. Only has 3,000 health. Shouldn't be hard to just beat this thing outright without having to resort to, relifing strats or agility, manipulation strats. So, nice spot for Plague. Not going to be too nasty on anyone. Theoretically.
Yeah. Yep.
That counter's ticking down though.
I think. Oh, there's Kane. That's kind of needed Kane to get a last hit, I think. But I think, yep, there's Helm finishing it off.
Sad for Kane to miss the 20,000 XP from this spot, but I'm sure that Val just wiped, the tiniest of sweat drops from his brow.
Didn't hold day and pray enough with Kane, it seems. But
so, as far as character spots go, we're still looking for that Cecil. We've checked Hobbs, we've checked Baron Inn, we've checked the 2 in Zot, and now we've checked Dwarf Castle as well. And the package. Cecil's hiding.
Cecil's hiding, and we know that he's also not in Sand Ruby because Marinoko went and checked Sand Ruby, and that is Rydia. And speaking of package, Marilyn went and checked package and chose not to get Fusoya, which I would go and make comments one way or another, but the current spell list, I can't blame them with Fu having pretty much just level 1 elemental spells at this point for Marinoko and weak. If there was an early darkness, I would think Marinoko would want to just abandon the earth and do a D machine grind to power up their characters.
Yeah, and we do have Mecha choosing to be the people's champion, the first of our racers to actually go for Cave Magnus. All of their other 3 featured racers just ignored it and headed up the Tower of Zot. But Mecha is going to be giving us our Twin Harp music tonight. I'm kind of hoping there's a Darkness Crystal here just to appropriately punish everyone else.
Oh yeah, no, if it's not here, I'm sorely disappointed. It's either Darkness or Hook from my book.
I mean, for what it's worth, if I were in the race, I would also be skipping Twin Harp. So, but I'm not in the race, so my hypocrisy can be utterly boundless tonight. Good job, Mecha.
Your hypocrisy is only when you're commenting. Man, I'm a hypocrite all the time.
Hey, and we also see Job Dwarf as an exhibit designer. So we've gotten the seed validated that way. Val doing at least that work, if not going for Twin Harp.
Gotta go and credit Val for being the hero of the stream today. Really going in, just pushing ahead, doing... Mecha's gone and done some of the off checks of Ordeals, Baronin, and now Twin Harp, while the Val Skunk is just kind of powered through a lot of the seed, going through that, the Ashura early and hitting up Tower of Zot. So this is interesting to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of varied paths from our featured runners tonight. You always love to see it. But you know what also you love to see? You love to see that Twin Harp tune. So I'm going to mute. I want to listen to this music as well. I think we'll be right back with y'all in just a second, chat. And rocking a little bit of Final Fantasy II. Not to be confused with what we all had labeled on our carts for this game as kids. And it is an Ogopogo, the Nope Rope, waiting here. So anyone who came here earlier without a white mage dodged a pretty big watery bullet right here.
Yeah, this is an ugly fight. Ogopogo is probably one of the hardest bosses in general in this game, in my opinion. While Golbez will go and kill 2 party members, and Kanazo can be extraordinarily rude in certain spots, Ogopogo, with that just half off your health opener and then starts punching you, there's a lot of ways that Ogopogo can be very rude, and if you don't have a white mage, you can just get ground down by this fight. So not a fight you want to go into early, I agree. But the punches here are at least rather tepid for the gear that they have. I believe Doso is wearing a tiara, which is definitely giving them a fair amount of defense and letting them just heal with the youngs, while Kane jumps in the air, avoids the attacks, and takes count Ogopogo without too much issue. Let's see how well rewarded Mecha Link is for this, or Mecha is for this Twin Harp dive.
Fingers crossed. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Closer to 10 key items, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. We are going to be able to get both the Sylph item and the Sheila 2 item with that pan. So 2 more checks, not bad. Of course, we are seeing another reason why a lot of racers may have faded this place. Exits are for sale underground, costing 2,000 gold apiece. And with no one being able to cast the spell innately, it's a little bit of a hike out of here.
Yeah, that's a very good point to why you don't want to go into this cave sometimes. Walking out is just really, really annoying. It's a bit of an insult. And Rosa not being able to learn that, again, needing to finish Zot first to go and get exit. I now understand why a lot of runners, thinking a bit more clearly than I apparently was, said, no, we're doing this later.
Have I mentioned how much I like Porum in version 4.0 yet?
I don't think you've said it enough, because I am still on the team of, well, Porum can't go and do much on the Z fight unless you're blowing stuff up with the white, but Exit's a good spell. I can't disagree. It's one of those things where I'll go and take the small child.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rosa still, of course, definitely outclasses for the Zeromus fight, and even from the mid-game, just getting Cure 3 so many levels sooner. But this early game, when, you know, just having access to Berserk and Blink and Exit can be so handy, it's not that Porum's better than Rosa, it's just that all of a sudden, she's actually really good. Any white mage in version 4.0 is so good with those economy changes. So, you know, get what you had from version 3 a little bit out of your head. You're going to want those Zerks, those Blinks, maybe even those Slows. Fantastic things to have with any team.
Oh yeah, I will freely admit I made some mistakes when I played some of my first 4.0 seeds by not taking the small white mage, and can't go and pretend it wasn't a mistake when I was on the Zeromus fight, thinking I really need to get some Berserks out early, and even if she's going to die early in this fight, she might be able to go and help accelerate me to the point where I can just be dealing more and more damage.
Yeah, and just to expand a little bit more on that, Get Cooped. So Bacchus wines are rarer and significantly more expensive. Illusions are rarer and much more expensive. You know, things of this nature, where you could just buy a stack of illusions, a stack of Bacchus wines back in 3.0 and call it a day. Now that is going to eat heavily into your gold reserves. So you're either going to have to do a whole bunch of extra looting to be able to afford these pricey things. And when we bump up to pro shops, for the bracket stage of the upcoming Fabul Gauntlet tournament, you're not going to find them at all except in Cole's shop. So, white mages, treat them near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, even the Cure 2 potions saw a bit of inflation, which stings the wallet a bit, as I love to buy stacks of 50 or 60 of them, and that hurts a lot more, which being able to go and just reliably heal out of combat has become significantly more helpful.
By the way, speaking of how Val has been kind of been a pathfinder, forging new paths throughout this entire seed. First one to take on a Feymarch boss here, going for the Mylon Z fight. Definitely taking advantage of that Blink spell on Rosa. Fu at the 1400 HP mark, knows nuke. And so getting the damage out here.
That's definitely going and helping Val Sunk out a bit, because Murray is definitely not going and getting a lot of value out of Visuya, as I think, unless I'm terribly mistaken, have they reset out of Ashura, or are they still in the same fight?
I think they must have had a reset. This fight's gone on so long that I can't see them not having left, unless Asura got a Cure 4 off and got the HP fully revived. What I am seeing, though, is only like 100 some odd damage from Kayn here in the back row. I'm not sure if Miare may not have done the back row glitch that Val did with the Dwarf Axe, because Val's jumps were hitting for very nice damage, like 900 or so. So even having the Fu, Miare just doesn't have the DPS at this point that our other racers have had. Marilyn here is all the way through Zot, and Mecha's jumps doing that 4-digit damage, which is really what you want to see in this fight.
Yeah, Valvalok Skunk was definitely going doing close to 1,000, so I don't know if they found some extra gear for their Kayn or what, but they're getting through this. But speaking of Valvalok Skunk, their Mylon is punching through the number of the members on that team, and I think there's been some illusions or some blinks tossed out, as he is dangerously close to wiping on this fight.
Yeah, it looks like a few hits got through that Rosa earlier. Palm is slow, but probably not slow enough to really make your team be on even footing here. Just because to get that relative agility 1 on everyone, we won't go into the math here, but Palm's slow, but he's not that slow.
Yeah, this is looking a bit hairy for Valvalok Skunk, but he squeaks it out with a very final hit from Sid, taking him through the fight, getting a few spells, but mostly getting the pink tail. Well, if we find... we have no adamants on, so it's not even going to go and give us an adamant armor when we find that hook we need.
Correct. But we have the rat tail. You'll probably turn them in side by side anyway. You still get a piece of tier 7 gear from turning in the pink tail. You can find white robes to help your white mages stay alive in the later fights of the game and in the Zeromus fight. You can get crystal swords and Excaliburs for your Cecils. There's a lot of good things you can get. So not bad to turn it in, but you may not go out of your way if your team's already in full fighting condition.
Very fair. And needing Cecil is we're required to find Cecil, so if we get something good from that pingtail, it could really encourage using Cecil. But depending on how late you find that Cecil, you might avoid them anyways, because that would involve ordeals, which I believe the only reward of value from ordeals is Demas giving an adamant, unless I'm mistaken.
I believe you're right. So at this point, we're running very low on moon access. The only things that we have 4 things we've not seen on stream. Wait, no, 5. There's a Luca key hanging too. My bad. So Sealed Cave can have something. This Baigan fight can have something. The Pan checks, either Sylph or Sheila 2, can have something. And then finally, there would be a single dip into lower battle. So we still have quite a variety of checks. I'm wondering where Mecha and Marilyn are going to go, as well as Miare, once they've cleared out these last few overworld options.
Yeah, it looks like Maryland's going back to a package that they reset out of. I wonder if they decided I don't like this team enough, and Vasoya's going to go and add enough to help me get through some of these other fights, or if there's another impetus for their decision, because they went and just grabbed that, they're grabbing Vasoya now.
Yeah, I think it may be that after having gone through Zot and just feeling like it was a bit of a slog to get through those fights, I could definitely be thinking, you know, I didn't find an edge, for instance. I could really use a little more power on my team. Let's go back and take the Fu now. And looks to be the case.
Yep, taking Fu over Palom, which with the spells, Maryland has gone and completed ordeals, which Marinoko has not, which will probably provide them with additional spells that they can go and use, and they might have Quake already, and it's another source of Berserk, which maybe they want with this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like a team that's going to be great for hybrid strats eventually. We have Fu, who can pull double duty on white or black magic. We have Rosa, who will, of course, be able to cast Zerk. We have 2 Yongs and a Kane. The Yongs really only need levels. You don't even have to worry about finding really good gear for them. You just get them into the, you know, the mid to upper 40s, and there's Zeromus ready. So I like Maryland's team a lot. And those those Ordeals bosses are definitely going to give them an easier time with Fu than Val's currently having.
Agreed. And looks like Maryland is heading back. I believe Maryland is now going to go and do Twin Harp, or just going to go and do a bit of shopping here, perhaps. But Velbel Skunk is going and fighting his way through Baigan, which Baigan's an ugly fight. Baigan's another one of those ugly fights that you never really feel good fighting, because he's just nasty. He hits fast, he hits, this spot hits hard, he throws walls up, so he makes using magic annoying. He's definitely not an easy fight to just walk through in certain spots.
Yeah, the nice thing about this spot is that it is a little lower HP than some. It's 23,000 combined for all 3 parts here. But having the 2 arms in the body all able to attack is so rude. Has gotten the body down. The arms will explode for pretty significant damage here, but Val does have enough characters up to where it shouldn't be an issue. And I think we're getting a little psychedelic here tonight.
We can see so much.
I can see forever.
Sometimes the internet is less than helpful, but we do see that Velbel did get through that fight, and Vasoya learned a few spells, and we are getting a blank box from Velbel because of that next. Because clearly, we need to not see what it is. But thankfully, the tracker is showing us.
To go with the glitch. Baron key. All right, there we go. So 2 more key item checks now on the table, and another character check.
That's Baron key definitely goes and looks like the priority spot, because it will get Fu more spells for Valvalskunk, who hasn't done ordeals, so they could definitely afford a few more. Well, they do at least have Meteo and Nuke, so they don't need that many. But I think they still want to go and get some extra HP on Fu, and it is 2 spots to check as well, with the Throne and the Odin spot.
Yeah, Sylphs only have a Heroine robe, which if you feel compelled to turn, you know, Rosa into a physical fighter for a bit, you can do that. And Mecha, of course, going to immediately head over and see what Sheila 2 holds before continuing his route.
I am very curious as to what the Shield of Two holds because everyone has faded this Twin Harp except for Marilyn, who is doing it now. So if this is it's one of the few spots for our Darkness Crystal, and we are definitely going to need that.
Speaking of which, shout out to Marilyn for giving us our second batch of Twin Harp music tonight. Hopefully we can get the sound switched over to her soon.
Need more of that Final Fantasy II music, and we see that Murinoko is through Ashura. They looks like they reorganized their party and was able to get through it a bit better this time. So they are through Zot, but they have definitely sunk a fair bit of time into this fight.
And we have confirmed that music is required tonight. You must get the pan from the Dark Elf. You have to return it to Sheila for the hook. And that is the only way we're going to be able to launch our Falcon. Now we're going to see if Mecha can get a double whammy out of this. If Cecil's down here to boot, Mecha only needs moon access. Of course, the hook pair out does not gate a key item. So we're still left wondering where that could be.
We do have the Rat Tail to turn in, which Mecha is going to show us. And if this is Darkness, all right, it's a Sand Ruby, so that's just Rydia. But we had hopes for a minute.
Yeah, so again, Darkness Crystal now isolated to being behind Baron at the top of Lower Babel or in behind the Sealed Cave. Running low on options.
All the fun checks left to get. And it looks like Mecha is choosing to go and pick up Rydia for one reason or another. I wonder if they're thinking, we did get that Leviathan summon from Antlion Cave. Maybe Mecha's held on to that. It's like, yes, give me this unlimited power in this form of the small child. And he said, oh, wait, no, never found them. Forget it.
It just never looked. Had to see if it was Cecil.
Poor Rydia. We find one for best summons and still, no.
Oh, and Mecha resets quite a bit back. I don't think it grabbed the hook yet on the save, so having to take a little bit of a walk of shame up to visit Sheila a second time.
That is a bit of a problem because that hook and Sand Ruby put them at, I believe, 9 key items.
So yeah, definitely an item that you probably should hold on to. So package, hook, Sand Ruby.
Yeah, Sand Ruby's from turning into the Rat Tail, so we'll see if they go back for that for the extra key item, or if they just leave it alone, thinking they'll find enough key items elsewhere on Earth.
Val finds Porum in Baron, so still no Cecil to be found. Val, by the way, with this highly powered Foo and a Quack Kid, has just blown through those two Baron fights so quickly. I didn't even see who Val had to deal with. So let's pay attention to the key item at least.
Pay attention? What am I supposed to do? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I mean, look, Val, by virtue of having, done this forging ahead and fighting both Fey March bosses already, Val has gotten a lot of XP and a lot of Foo spells. So when you backtrack to these earlier game fights, yeah, Val is just going to make their heads explode. So whatever it was, Val cleared it, no problem. Bahamut and Leviathan, so round of summon monsters, there we go.
And we get Darkness, so Valval Skunk Baron is required. We are required to go through that Beigen. But if Val skips Twin Harp, Val is in a bad spot because they'll need to come back to find Cecil and get that hook.
Yeah, buckle your seatbelts. We're in for a long one tonight. So anyone who targets Feymarch and fades the Dark Elf is going to be heavily delayed getting their Darkness Crystal. And meanwhile, anyone who does Dark Elf and leaves Feymarch for a long time isn't getting to go to the moon. I think I do give the advantage here, though, to people who do Dark Elf first, because this sets you up very nicely to be able to go straight from the vanilla Masamune altar into the final fight of the game. Cecil could be down here. If Cecil's not here, you get to check the first character on the moon. Okay, we do have it. Oh! Ha! I love it.
And, well, we knew that Magma was a logic path on the ground, but this really sealed the deal as Valvalis can't block one of the ways underground, and Valvalis is incredibly rude.
Yeah, Valvalis was added to that pool, mostly because you weren't guaranteed to have a cane, and with how good the physical defense is while spinning at the Ruby spot, as well as the speed, it can be tricky to get a team together to deal with her there. It's not so bad here. We do have a cane, we do have extra levels from having already been underground. It's still not going to be pleasant, but I'm glad that we actually have a rather rude fight here on this hook path, just to add a little bit of injury to insult.
So, Inben, do you want to revise your opinion about that early hook path? Because I'm thinking that looks real ugly, and I would rather come back here with a team that just murders Valvalis instantly without much issue, rather than having to slog through whatever this torture is here.
Well, I don't mind going ahead and finding the Darkness Crystal in this case, because one, I would look at my key item counter, no. That'll put me at 10 key items, and it'll give me moon access. I can grind and come back, and then I could bum rush that final spot on the moon. What I would not, I think that Val's still in a bad spot here, especially if he feels compelled to check additional boss spots here for key items, maybe hoping the hook is up here. Full clearing the moon is going to give you a lot of XP, but it's also going to take a hot minute.
And we find Cecil on the moon, so that might send Valvalis skunk back to the Earth for a bit, because unless I'm mistaken, they're now just 2 objectives away, with launching the Falcon and Masamune Melter being the 2. And looks like they're taking that Cecil.
If they have a cursed ring, he can be a pretty great agility anchor. It's like the one common to the entire team piece of gear that Dark Knight Cecil can use. Also, if they kept the Deathbringer sword that people found earlier, you can still insta-kill things with Cecil on the moon as long as they don't have the insta-death immunity. We've seen that grind used before in Highway to the Zima Zone Run 1. So it's also a viable strat. We'll see how this plays out.
Indeed, and the Valskunk is just taking the plain Dark Knight Cecil down as a anchor, which, interesting fact about Dark Knight Cecil, he actually starts rather fast. I think he starts around 10 or 11 or even 12 agility. I know Paladin Cecil starts at 13 agility, which is a lot higher than you would think for a level 1 character, but Cecil's no slouch in the speed department early on.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want to not let Cecil gain XP from these fights. Or it will just... If he is going to gain some, you want to get him up to that 28, the second cutoff. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Val's already, made a ton of Hail Marys this seed, and they've paid off well. The main thing I am worried about is ending up scouring the entire moon for the hook when we know it's back on Earth.
Yeah, that will definitely set them behind, as their team, Jan will appreciate all that experience and will be more than ready to just rip and tear everything on this moon with those really beefy muscles, but not many of those characters. Rosa will benefit from some experience. Kane kind of wants a better weapon with what he's been rocking so far. Blizzard's Spear is nice, but at the end of the game, you really want something like a Defense Sword, an Avenger, Dragoon Spear, something to help.
Absolutely. But Val, heading down to this objective, we still have a few freebies in play. We could find King Queen Evelyn here. I'm not sure if Val has spare hourglasses in case we run into the Dark Imps, for instance. But let's see how rude this required boss location is.
It's actually quite free.
Oh, wow. And does have a coffin and a stack of hourglasses, so nothing to worry about here.
Yeah, Val is seeming a wee bit prepared for this eventuality, and hey, they went and, well, they successfully took out Dark Knight Cecil, which I believe was their stated goal, so good on them. That's nice to see them moving up in the world.
Zerking up, probably gonna do a little bit of life glitching here if I had to guess to get some bonus XP. I see that coffin going off on the officer, which does have the bulk of the XP. There's the life potion from the Quack Kid to follow. So Val's gonna be getting a lot of XP from this spot. I don't believe, no, not 10 key items worth or anything, but still gonna be really great for his non-Fu characters here.
Oh yeah, this will definitely go and help him get a fair amount of strength, and I was mistaken. He does not have Yang in his party at all. He does have Palom, who will really like the experience, but my opinion, at the moon, you really want to be starting getting up to Nuke, which she's going to be a fair bit of ways from at this point, unfortunately. But still, we can't.
So, chat, help me out here. So, we were looking at Fabulous Dive the Moon, and Mecha Link is somehow no longer in Upper Babel. He's over in Dwarf Castle. Did he reset rather than choosing to go fight the Valvulus, like perhaps after getting the Yang? Looked like he was actually fighting his way down. Was there someone really nasty at King Queen Evelyn that merited this change of pace? I'll go to the VOD if I must, but hopefully someone else had eyes on that. I was so excited about the moon play, I missed it.
I agree. I love this reward from the Masamune spot, the silver apple, because not even a gold apple or a really nice weapon, just here's an apple, enjoy. You know, doctor, apple a day keeps the doctor away, right?
Absolutely. So curious, Zarkasm in chat saying that Mecha just left. Apparently didn't see a rude fight that took a wipe to, just choosing to till other soil and possibly leave that fight for those later levels like we mentioned earlier.
I'm not going to go and call it a bad play, to be honest, because Val is very rude, but I do see that Valvalus Skunk has 11 sirens in their inventory, so I wonder if we're going to see a grind sometime soon. But the real question we're sitting at is, where is Cecil?
Oh, we have Cecil.
Oh, right. I'm a dingus. I forgot. Yeah, he's on the moon. We have everything we need. We're in no mode. It was just... I was so excited to go and hunt down more people.
Yeah, chat. Yeah, the only spot that we have not seen at this point is the giant, and I think by process of elimination, we can say that is... Hold on. I'm looking at the list. It's Edward! Edward's at the end of the giant. Oh, sad. Nah, Tella's in Dwarf Castle, so Eddie's the only one left.
And we see that Evil Wall is at the Lunar spot, so this is an ugly fight. I don't like this at all. Kane is doing 400 damage. This is... I don't like this.
Yeah, if Val wants to hit 10 key items before doing a grind, I'm not sure this is the fight that I want to go for to get them.
Agreed, very heartily. So right now we know everything we have to do. We have to go and do Twin Harp. We have to go and do Baron Key, which came from Baigen in Feymarch. And we have to do that Earth Crystal, which came from the pretty much free chest. Go to the moon, pick up Cecil, who's already on the way. So we've got four of our five objectives are doubled up, leaving only that hook being the bit rude one, which is behind the pan behind Twin Harp.
Well, moral of the story is do music, says the person who never does music until after the seed is done. So I feel great sympathy for Val here. Just again has made some amazing plays, has unlocked this area long before anyone else has. But fading that one little check is going to cause a little bit of problem.
Yeah, that was one of the 3 checks they had left on Earth, with them skipping Ordeals, top of Zot, top of Lower Babel, and Twin Harp. Those are three kind of obnoxious checks on Earth that are easy to say, this is too much time. I'd rather do something more efficient on the moon, and it's unfortunately not the correct play today. And Evil Wall is getting really close to giving some giving the really strong hugs that everyone is so used to. And I don't know if Pavel Skunk has a ribbon to go and save them from that instant death, because there's no adamant armor to go and save them. Even if, they have their pink tail, that won't go and turn into anything helpful. And there's Fusoya going down. I think Pavel Skunk is not going to be making it through this fight. Thank you, Dathis, for pointing out that there have been no ribbons spotted so far this seed, so Pavel Skunk is in a spot of trouble.
I mean, we do have a pink... Oh, no adamants. Yeah, very rude fight here, just really high HP. Someone in chat asked if you could do the Eddie hide strats to make the evil wall break itself down here. For those of you curious in chat, if Edward's your only living character and he's hidden, the evil wall will punch itself every time it moves forward. So if you're at a spot where you can do a lot of front-loaded damage with, like nukes from Fu or something, and then, your entire party's dropped, and evil wall has, a good ratio of damage to HP, it'll tear itself down. This spot, probably not going to happen. King Queen Evelyn spot would be a great place for that. 6,000 HP and hits like a truck. But here, I think we're about to see a little reset action. Maybe.
Yeah, this is grinding through this fight. I think is going to be a bit too much, as there's Fusoya's out of magic, so he needs to steal mana from someone else who needs to live long enough for Fusoya to go and cast Psych, which is a very, very slow spell.
Yeah, and one thing that Maggie's pointing out in chat, and Maggie's absolutely right on this, is that when we do get to the crush phase, the wall acts a little bit slower. During the actual bash phase, it acts super fast. It's not unreasonable once you get to the crush phase to win a battle through attrition. Val still has, I believe, 27 life potions, so that's definitely an option. As long as you're willing to throw those life pots and throw them fast.
Agreed, though. Kane is... Palom is going and throwing damage with the Fire 3s, but is close to Petrify. Kane is throwing out 700 damage to the swing, which is a bit low for this spot, and I think they're going to be in a bit of trouble with this. Just Fusoya's out of MP and needs to go and get some from somewhere. This is...
I mean... Val's kept us on the edge of our seat all night with these, really, really marginal victories. No, I think he's going to get through here. I believe. I don't blame you, because, agreed, Val has gone and shown a lot of, he's squeaked out a lot of wins, and he is surviving this fight, so I'm rooting for him. I'm just, I remember whipping the evil wall in the vanilla spot a lot, and this is definitely not the vanilla spot. And it's being rude just taking down Kane repeatedly, who needs to get re-berserked, and then Rosa goes down and needs to get back up to help berserk. And of course, trying to cast Psych with Fu, that's one reason why notable racers of this game, this is a strat pioneered by Rivers McCown. When you see that Succubus item in the shop, don't poo-poo it too badly. The Osmos or Psych spell is so slow to cast that having an instant cast version, whether the Succubus item or the Lilith Rod, hugely useful for restoring MP on either a Fu or a Tella when they run out. Ethers are a bit pricey, but that constant spell power of the item version can be very, very handy.
Agreed. I most certainly love seeing that, and he does get through. Val is proving me wrong very handily, getting through that evil wall fight. And we'll see what he gets as a reward for this.
Yeah. There's no fight gonna stop Val. It's just, again, hey, Pass is really nice here. We know that Val is not gonna get his crystal until he goes back to Earth and clears the Twin Harp route. So Pass is good. It's gonna save him having to walk the moon again, which, given that I think he's going to full clear the moon, probably good. Definitely good, right? Right.
Yes, and unfortunately the Pass not counting Kidam teases Val's going to get out of that double experience range, I believe, as they're at 9 instead of 10. Which is... that's just rude. I'm sorry. I really want Val to get a bit more reward for that. He slogged through that fight. He went and put up the good fight and got through it, and the Protect Ring's nice, but I imagine he would have preferred to get up to 10 key items so he could just do a grind. Getting Nukon Palom would be a huge benefit for him at this point.
Lots of moon bosses here, by the way, saying, hey, I hope you know the blink spell. I really hope you know the blink spell. And luckily, Val has 2 sources of the blink spell. All these things here punching so hard, it seems. First Evil Wall and now Antlion.
Blink is probably one of my favorite spells from the White Magic because it does such a big effect for such a I mean, you get it on early on, which is interesting because it's definitely, when you use it in certain situations, completely and utterly broken, to be honest. It really goes and saves some of these fights, and well, then he just punches the person who's not dancing around.
Yeah, it's basically the blink spell is saying if your foe's not using magic, a blink spell is here. Have 2 doses of infinite healing. How hard are you hitting me for it? Doesn't matter. You could break the damage cap and hit me for, 1 billion HP. Nope, it's 0.
Yes, with the blink spell, everyone is a Final Fantasy XI ninja tank. Meanwhile, we do see that Marilyn has gotten through that Bygone spot, being the second featured runner to get through it, and is going back down for the Mylon Z fight. And once they go and get, they'll need to go and clear the Baron Castle to go and get their Darkness Crystal, but I think they went and cleared Twin Harp, so they might have their Pan. They could be in a pretty good spot to clear Pan, get their hook, maybe see who's in the cave, see that it's Valvalis and want to get some levels, go up to the moon, find Cecil, and be ready to just go. We do see Marinoko is getting through that Mylon Z fight, while Mechalink is getting through Bygone as well, and Valvalis is continuing to go and push through this Antlion spot, or Antlion on the moon. So all of our runners putting Brood bosses, and Valvalis is now through Antlion.
I will note that aside from our 4 featured streamers tonight, hey, a tower key. There's another key item for Val. We do have, let me run the count here. That is 5, 10, I believe we have 18 racers running tonight. I probably miscounted. So no one is done yet. It's very easy to conceive that someone could have done that Twin Harp early and then just full cleared Earth like we saw some of our racers doing here, especially given how rude that Darkness Crystal is located. But no one is done yet, so still anybody's game. Any one of our featured restreamers could still take this race. We'll let you know when the dot duns come in, but no one's there yet.
Agreed. I think Valvalis is either going to go to the Wyvern spot, or Valvalis is going to do a little bit of a grind first, as they've got 10 key items. They're in a good position to do a grind. And you see Valvalis just going straight for the Wyvern spot, figuring, I'm going to clear the moon, I'm going to go and get a bunch of experience that way. We'll go and deal with whatever I need to after any grind I need to do afterwards. And meanwhile, we do see that Mechalink and Marinoko are now fighting Bygone to get their Baron Key, and Marilyn has gone and finished off Mylon Z and is going to be rewarded with something that didn't really impress me much, the Pink Tail, which, if they find that hook, they'll be able to turn it in and get maybe a good key item, or maybe a strong item, as we are again on no adamants. But Marilyn is definitely looking in a solid position depending on how they approach, where they go from next.
Yeah, I'm hoping Mecha turns in that Pink Tail. I know, it's no Adam, but I'm just curious. I'm always so intensely curious what it is. Whenever I'm playing a seed casually instead of race format, I'm like, we have to go see. We have to go see. It's like, basically the Pink Tail now for me is kind of like the Job Dwarf. It's kind of like the package sprite. It's just one of those things that, even if I really don't need it, I gotta know. I gotta know.
You gotta see what's in the box, or in this case, the reward from this. What would going to have a tail that pink that you would go and give an adamant armor for it? Because I've seen some pink tails. I've never seen a pink tail that I would go and say, yes, let me give you some giant piece of adamant armor that has no place existing because it's so completely and utterly stupidly broken.
Mecha is going to give us that peek, by the way. Picks up the hovercraft, headed back to the Adamant Grotto.
That is definitely good. Well, we'll get to go and see, as I do believe they now have their Darkness Crystal, and they're probably the closest to be able to finish off the seed, unless I'm mistaken.
Well, Mecha's not been to Baron yet. I believe Mecha did get the Baron key, and thus has access to the Darkness Crystal, but not been there quite yet.
Right, right.
Speaking of how you would have liked to have seen a weapon for Kane, how about that one?
Oof. That hurts. Poor Vavel's he really would have liked that from the moon.
Yeah, the Holy Lance, Kane's highest attack power weapon on paper, but its lower accuracy than the defense sword kind of gives the defender a little bit of an advantage until Kane gets to really high levels. But you're not going to turn your head up at either that or a Dragoon Spear or the defender. All wonderful weapons for Kane, just whether you're just for the end game. So great pickup for Mecha. I'm sure he does not regret going there at all.
And here I am trashing the Blizzard Spear, and who do we find in the Paladin spot? Rubicant. You know who doesn't like a Blizzard Spear to the face? Rubicant.
I mean, I've never taken a Blizzard Spear to the face, but I bet most people would not actually like a Blizzard Spear to the face.
I don't know. Evil Walk seemed to go and treat it as a bit of a tickle for a while. But 5,000 damage from a jump. This Rubicant is not long for this fight, I think. I think we're going to go and see some very unpleasant things happen to this poor honorable fellow. Who totally didn't go and justify any ninja murder and whatnot, so is totally an innocent victim of our party. But that was a very quick fight for Valval Skunk. They have one fight left on the moon, and then I believe they'll be sent back to Earth, so they might be able to beat some of these fighters. Finding a Murasame, which is not even... I believe there's a question about the randomization and different properties of therein, but we might want to save those for another time.
Val has made very nice work of this moon. You know, we were a little worried during the Evil Wall fight, but overall has made great time full clearing the place as a very powerful party, has the pass, more importantly. Just the question is that tower key going to lead him down the wrong path once he's back on Earth? It's probably a good... It's kind of a bad thing for Val that no one has finished. If someone done, so I'm really going to think, oh, it had to be behind an earlier key item, right? And then I'm going to focus on my Twin Harp, which has been hanging, or, you know, maybe it's on Ordeals, the two early accessible spots that I didn't go to. No one being done is making it seem like, oh, what if it's behind the, what if it is behind this tower key I just got on the moon?
Well, we got a very solid answer from Marinoko as to what's in the sealed cave. It's nothing of value and a wyvern.
I love that spot for wyvern. The Evil Wall spot is one of the fastest in the game. I think it's third fastest. It has some of the highest spell power in the game. They really wanted to make sure those counter rays landed on you in vanilla. So wyvern there, you're gonna have a very rough time without some serious agility anchoring going on.
Oh yeah, that I don't even think Mega Nuke went off before Marinoko said, "Ha ha, bye." And speaking of saying goodbye, Mylon and Friends is in the Bahamut spot, who the children is not gonna really be doing an awful lot because the children are kind of stuck from that hourglass. But we do see Marilyn through Baron Castle is going to be picking up their Darkness Crystal, and we'll see where they go to next. As I don't know if they've turned in their pan, but they'll be in prime position to sneak past Valvellaskunk. Valvellaskunk is almost done with the moon and will be clearing out these Earth spots very quickly as they have a lot of levels. They might even go and do a bit of a grind just to finish off Earth. The worst thing that can happen for Valvellaskunk, to be entirely honest, I think, is going to Giant hunting for Demas, because they never went up Ordeals and found them there.
Oh. Nah, I can't see anyone making the Giant play at this point. That's a little... Like we've seen a little bit of, you know, avant-garde boss attempts, but there's a difference between attempting a boss that's difficult for your party stats and going to a spot that is just in itself highly unlikely.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think that's the worst thing for Valvellaskunk, as they've cleared out this moon pretty quickly. They're going to be coming back to Earth with very good levels, and when they find that Valval is in the Rubicon spot, they're not going to have too much trouble with them one way or another.
Marilyn here has unlocked her whale, Mecha flying over here too. Of course, Mecha at this point knows where everything is. Mecha's the first one of our featured racers to be in no mode. He has the hook. He knows that path. Only one with the hook. Everyone's going to have the Darkness Crystal as soon as Miare gets done with this fight. So of the 4 restreamed ones, Mecha's looking in good shape. Does still have to get the levels that Val does not need. Between Mecha and Val, it's going to come down, I think, pretty heavily to if Val makes the right call and heads to Cave Magnus first.
Agreed. And I wonder if Val's going to go and take any more experience on the moon before going back to Earth, because they've got in the past, they don't have a really good reason to go and get more experience. They do have 10 sirens, so they can get a good chunk of experience that way, but yeah, it looks like they're just leaving. Not going grabbing Nuke, which at this point is definitely going to go and be a bit overkill for anything on Earth, as they have it on Visoya. Yeah, Mechalink is going to go and find that. If Mechalink just has to walk into the Crystal Palace to see Cecil and will know what they have to do. Then it's just grind and go. Correct. There was nothing required at Ordeals. There was Demist in the Mylon and Friend spot, which had the Adamant, and the spot, the Key Atom spot from the Ordeals check itself was an Artemis bow guarded by Golbez.
I will note, by the way, that again, the fact that no one is done yet in the actual RaceBot channel, I dare say that's possibly guiding Val's routing here. You can think people probably would have done a single dip tower without tower key, so it could be there. And if it is tower key, well, then yeah, let's go here. Val may be thinking we're an hour, 20 minutes in. If it's on Ordeals or in Cave Magnus, surely someone would be done by now, right? Which, of course, we know not the case.
I think there was probably a number of people who were put off and stymied by that Baigan for a while, which slowed them down. And Maryland going and taking the hard choice of who do I keep and take, and is losing Kane, which might end up being a bad decision just because, well, we know who the hook boss is, and I don't believe Maryland has seen that hook boss.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if it was Maryland or Miare. One of them actually went to the top of Lower Babel and peeked the boss there, maybe even fought that location. I think it was Miare. So Miare theoretically knows who's there, but yeah, Maryland doesn't. However, even though Val will be a little annoying at that spot, if you have 2 people who can blink, which we do, we have Rosa and Fu, you have sources of Zerk, you're gonna have the levels to get through the spin defense by that point. It's not, going to be the happiest or the easiest of fights, but you'll be able to get through.
And they're just exiting out immediately, just leaving that, found that Cecil, added them to the party, and dumped the Kane. And now they are heading off to somewhere on Earth, not choosing to go to that Masamune altar first.
I can understand this completely. We've not found the pass. Well, Valvalis has found the pass on the moon, of course. Maryland's not seen that pass, and thus may be thinking, let me try to save that spot for last. Let me check these places on Earth. Actually, no. Maryland wants a good weapon for the Cecil, and appears to be attempting to come back and challenge this Wyvern. I'm not sure I like this play. This is a long walk. The Excalibur, admittedly, is great. It's a great weapon. It's the second best weapon in the game. But having to walk all the way through here, a very rude Wyvern fight, the time it takes to forge it, I don't think it actually saves time here over just using the Ice Brand, or having kept Kane, in fact.
I think they may be going for a door grind instead, as that's coming out. They're looks like they're waiting for something. Waiting for Fu's turn, I'm assuming. And I think they're trying to just grind up some doors. Ooh, and Valvalskunk finds the alt gauntlet in the tower key room. Which, that would be a nice experience if it weren't for the fact that you had to kill the moon bosses first. And to answer a question from chat, the pass was in the Lunar spot, blocked by Evil Wall. So, not the most fun thing to get.
Who doesn't love an alt gauntlet? We do get to see one of those 4.0 flags in action here. You're not seeing a whole bunch of soldiers, commanders, you know, weepers and water hags. No, we've got chimerae. We've got flame men, whatever they're called. This is actually kind of interesting because this boss spot, the Luge spot, has some pretty. Oh, pardon me. This is behind the tower key. I take it back, chat. I take it back. Although it equally applies here. The stats of 3 Dark Imps, very low compared to the stats of these vanilla monsters. So this is definitely an upgrade. If you had perchance gotten a tower key early and thought you could come here for an easy key item check at low levels, you would have been sorely mistaken this seed.
Sounds like a hot take on this hot spot.
God. Yep.
Yeah, there's Marilyn going and saying, I want an X-Scale, I will slay it. It's interesting that Marilyn is slaying the vanilla boss of Cecil's best weapon for picking up the Legend Sword required to make Cecil's second best weapon. And this is ugly. I can certainly agree with you that this is very hard to go and suggest being worth it, as Cecil is just not quite. Yeah, Cecil is. Here's the thing about Cecil. As I said, he starts at 13 agility, which is pretty fast. You can slap a dwarf axe on him to get him down to 8, but he's actually a pretty terrible anchor early on. Even Edward, who has absurd agility growth, starts around 9 or 10 agility at level 5.
Yeah, they really wanted, after you got Cecil on Ordeals, well, this is, of course, me assuming things about the developer's intent, but you get him at level 1, but he has to have stats comparable enough to deal with the random encounters walking down Ordeals to any casual player of the game. So he has, you know, very high starting HP, decently high starting stats to go along with that Legend Sword when you first get it. So it makes sense that when you get him at level 1, he's going to be a little beefier than some people. But yeah, as far as having the Dwarf Axe brings me down to agility 8, which means anyone above, anyone at 21 agility or higher will be going at the same pace as Wyvern here. So Fu is a little slow. But the rest of the party definitely fast enough to get the Star Veils off here. Just the question is, can Marilyn then keep up with the subsequent nukes that are going to be coming out?
And it looks like, again, does go and get 2 of them off, so that's some good damage on Wyvern. This is, what is this, 18,000 HP?
Oh, hey, Scala, if you're listening, we are getting our 3rd taste of music, if you can swap that over for chat. We're all looking at this Wyvern fight.
Entranced by the evil dragon, who, let's be honest, none of us really want to go and deal with properly. And Marilyn might be able to get through this not terribly poorly, actually, with that reflected Mega Nuke. Foo's back up, reflecting nukes off. Yeah, it's not too bad. It definitely was a time sink to go and get it, but we're through. We have got it, and we do have a caster of Warp in the party with Fusoya, so I'm going to be able to make some time up with that Excalibur, but we'll have to see if it's enough, as I didn't realize Valvel Skunk Faded Antlion gave.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a bold player for bold players.
Yeah, and he's going to be going and checking through, finding these last few spots, while Mechalink is going to be almost getting their crystal, as they're going to fight Valvalis now, and we'll just need to fight that Masamune altar spot, which was not, it was a rude, well, not an exceptionally rude boss like Sealed Wall or Evil Wall or whatnot, but it was not a pushover like King Queen Evelyn. But Mecha is definitely the closest in sight of their go mode, while Valvel Skunk is going to need to do some digging to find it.
And we still have no one done yet, so I'm guessing, you know, again, we had these splits between people who faded the Cave Magnus, but pushed forward on the other routes. I mean, we're nearly at the 90-minute mark. I'm sure someone will wrap up soon, but this is I'm liking how this flag set's playing out thus far, even with some seemingly more forgiving random objectives.
Agreed. We're not going hunting down through the giant say for Cecil, and we're not going hunting through the all the different spots to find bosses. So this is definitely a little bit more forgiving, specifically with that Za and Open the Troya Treasury kind of doubling themselves up. This is definitely interesting.
Yeah, and Val is now on the right path, heading down to Cape Magnus. Will still have to go quite a bit more traveling to complete his final objective, though. Launching the Falcon is a long ways away from Skunk. Mechalink, after this fight, only has to fight the Kaipo officer and guards fight. Not a whole lot to worry about there. Is getting double XP at this point. Can life glitch the officer for even more? Mecha's looking in really good shape to tackle that fight in Zeromus as soon as he's through here.
Yeah, though Val's got a stack of sirens. If he wants to go reflex strats, he's gonna be in a good position to just do a quick grind after getting that Falcon and fly straight in. So I think we still have a solid race between Val, Skunk, and Mecha, who Mecha's got some levels, but is going to want some more, I think, before he goes to the Zeromus fight, even with that kind of free grind from the Masamune altar.
Yeah, and Mecha only having one source of Blink, not able, and also with the Zert Yongs not really doing more than a few hundred damage to Valvalus in Tornado form. Very lucky to still have this cane to be able to break the spin. That allows the Yongs to get up to, you know, the high triple digits, low 4-digit numbers here. Would definitely be having a much rougher time at this fight if he had traded away the cane. We'll see if that comes back to bite other racers who may have traded theirs away.
Yeah, Maryland is they've got a Cecil with an Excalibur, but they have a low-level Cecil with an Excalibur, which is definitely not what they want, I think. But they are getting, yeah. So that price change in illusions, they used to cost 2,000 gold each, unless I'm mistaken. They now cost 20,000 gold each. So no buying stacks of 10 very freely.
I mean, I like it. That's an extra element of strategy to the game. You have to contemplate what is the most efficient thing. There's so few things that you can do truly mindlessly in 4.0, which is good. I'm guilty as anyone is of going on autopilot. Just, you know, my thumbs will play the game for me sometimes. And these changes have made it to where, no, you have to be in there and, you know, contemplating your situation a little more thoroughly. And with that, by the way, Mechalink is through the Valvalis fight here at Rubicante. Will be launching his Falcon soon. Still has to go to the moon and fight that one last fight, but then we'll just be a very short walk from Zeromus.
Agreed. Mechalink is definitely in prime position, as Valvalis, I forgot, does have to go and get the pan, turn it in, and not get distracted by other checks on the way. So we'll see where they go. They still haven't gone up Ordeals and haven't found Demas, so maybe they're thinking, I have to find a Demas somewhere.
Nah, there's no way you're not checking the pan at this point. It is nice that Val does have an exit spell at this point that, you know, certain other racers did not have at this time. So not having to walk all the way out, making up a little bit of time there. But yeah, Ordeals and the Odin spot is also one that's left hanging at this point. But I can't see skipping out on the pan at this point. It's 2 checks. You don't have to fight anything. You just have to run it and run it down and run it back up.
Agreed. It's a very high density check for the effort required. And Maryland is going and turning in their rat tail, hoping to see if they go and find something. I don't know what they'd key item wise really need, but that pink tail for the white spear for the cane they gave away.
You have to feel a little crestfallen there. I mean, having an Excal Cecil is a bit stronger than having a white spear cane, but it's still just the game being like, oh, did you get rid of the Dragoon? Why would you do such a thing?
You betrayed Kane. How could you? That's his job. But we see people Maryland is not grabbing their, I think they really, oh no, they are going to Agert to pick up something, I believe, and did not bring their hovercraft over to the Eblin spot to check to see what they have. They're going in here to purchase, looking for something, I guess.
Mecha decides to do a little bit of sightseeing here. Don't you love it when you accidentally hit A, instead of over the exit to the underworld, you hit it right there at one of the 2 tiles you can land on next to the caldera?
Oh yeah, I love doing that. That's like, I am a prime pilot. Thank you for entrusting me with this airship. I will definitely betray all of your expectations.
And just as a bonus, knowing that you're in go mode, which I guess Mecha feels he has a little bit of shopping left to handle as well.
He may be going to pick up that level 1 radio with that sand ruby he has for a good anchor. Or maybe thinking of going and slingshotting them, or is checking the shops. And Valvella Skunk is grinding some eggs underground. So they've turned in their pan, but they don't go in. They haven't gone and left yet, but they're I don't know if they're going up for nuke or if they're going for something different. Meanwhile, we see that Murinoko is going in, finding Valvalis is blocking him, is finding the edge there. We'll see if they take them or if edge just gets faded by everyone. Meanwhile, Maryland grabbing coffins and shop with elixirs, so they are on their way to that Valvalis fight and will be in close to finishing off the siege, but still no one finished yet. We are still anyone's race. Let's see how things continue to progress.
I'm surprised Val's doing this grind here. Levels look pretty good.
With
Rosa already having over 2,000 HP, which is kind of, pretty, good look for if you're ready to go to the Zeromus fight.
I'm thinking he's looking for reflect strats with that Palom still around. His only real fighter is Kane at this point, so you can do a hybrid with, Zerk Kane, reflect nukes with Fu, and throw some spells out with Palom, but
that's a good point. And also the fact that Valvalisa, has that stack of Sirens and Hourglasses, but going back to the moon to fight Gold Dragons is very out of the way at this point. So, especially already having the pass. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Grinding up to nuke on the kid and then is going to power through everything that remains.
Yeah, and the kid's close to nuke as it is. I'm not surprised by this, but I definitely agree. This is costing them time that they need to go and get that hook, go to the hook boss. I think they're assuming whoever this hook boss is, I can just nuke it in the face and be done with it in 2 turns, and is going to be rudely surprised by Valvalis.
Actually, Val should know Val's up there, because Valvalis should know about Valvalis. Okay.
Valvalis is on the Valvalis plains.
Yeah. So Valvalis Skunk, one of our featured racers tonight, did go up to the top of Lower Babel, and so thus is well aware there is a Valvalis at the end of the hook path. Although, where
they're making a save there in case the pan turn-in doesn't turn out to be the hook.
Clever. I like it.
That is definitely a heads-up play. I like it. And it is Kanatsu in the King Queen Eblin spot, I believe. So a rude fight, but not the rudest, particularly with a, well, you have a Fusoya with nuke. I don't think much stands up to that level of power. Hey, microwave turtle soup, anyone?
Delicious.
You can feel the radiation. And with that said, we have our first place finisher. Dusty Griff has finished in the first place with a time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 11 seconds. GG, Dusty Griff.
Dusty Griff? Who's that? Have they played this game before?
They're kind of an outlier, I think. They only show up on rare occasions and full moons, maybe. And then show up in tournaments and just go and really make a big splash.
Yeah, GG's to Dusty Griff, one of the all-time greats, the winner of last year's World Series of Free Enterprise. Glad to see him racing again. Glad we got him out tonight. And yeah, be looking for him to make waves in the upcoming Fabul Gauntlet.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one of the scary runners to go and encounter in any tournament, in my opinion. He's a very good, efficient player. But speaking of efficiency, we see Mechalink is going and doing a grind. We see Marilyn and Marinoko are both in the Valvalis fight, going to launch their Falcons, and Valvalis Skunk is charging down to blow up anything that's in his way. So this is definitely I wonder if Mecha hasn't checked the fight, so I don't think he's aware of how it's not entirely superfluous for going and doing this grind, but he's going to go and get a bonus grind when he hits that altar, I think.
Yeah, you're always worried that you're going to run into route at the Ogopogo altar. It's it's a pretty hard spot. High magic, high physical attack. Of course, in this case, there's no cause for concern whatsoever.
Unless you don't have hourglasses, which Mecha already has because he's using them to farm dragons. So that's a little unfortunate for him, but I don't think it's going to go and be too big of a difference. Well, I guess it is, because every dragon he fights is going to be a dragon for Mechalink or for Valvalis to catch up and get closer to clearing that Val, because once Val is dead, Valvalis Skunk is going to go fly straight to Troya, turn in their pass, and go to the Zeroma's fight. So Mecha is on a clock.
King Ryu's also, if I remember correctly, actually I'll look them up right quick. I'm curious if they happen to resist elemental attacks. Actually,
they do.
No.
Yes, they do resist elemental, the fire, lightning, and ice, I believe, but not holy.
Gotcha. So that's why our Yangs are looking a little lackluster here, but that Holy Lance is doing some decent work, it seems.
I agree. That's it's sometimes tempting to go and take off the claws to just get rid of that half damage, even if you lose some accuracy for it.
Yeah, I purposely always buy a Poison Claw if I see it, just because I've had fights with Pale Dim before, which also takes half damage from elemental attacks. And I'm just like, oh, do I take my claws off and have, a base 50% accuracy, or do I keep them on and do half damage? Like, which is actually the worst situation here? And they're both bad. Buy a Poison Claw. Just buy one. It's cheap.
Buy two, see if you find two Yangs, you have both of them up.
So though Miari and Marilyn are kind of side by side here, knocking down this Val, about to launch their Falcons, I don't think either of them have cleared that Ogopogo spot yet. So again, it's really going to come down a little bit here between Mecha and Valvalis, just depending on when Mecha stops grinding and how quickly Val deals with Val.
Agreed. I think Val might go and have a bit of an edge with those reflex strats, as he doesn't have to worry about setup, where Mecha is going to be a little slow because they have a 3 Zerker team, but only one person to go and cast Berserk, which I think is going to not necessarily work for them for a while. I believe they just are the only one who passed up Visoya in general and never picked them up at all. And thank you to Dusty Griff for the raid. Congratulations on your first place finish.
Miare launching the well, only has one spot to check. Valvalis here, about to take down the 2 elements, blocking the way underground. Mecha still grinding a little bit here. These are some pretty spicy levels, over 4,000 HP on each Yang. Kane's about to hit the 3,000 mark. Rosa's looking a little beefy there in the back row especially too.
I wonder if Becca is thinking, I really want to make sure that Rosa does not die to a big bang, because, 2400, I don't have a white shirt. I don't have... I'd say he doesn't have amazing gear, but he does have things like Tiara and a rune ring, I believe. So that's some pretty decent equipment. Maybe he doesn't have a stat stick for Rosa, wants to go and just get that extra safety, but I agree. Mecha is definitely going and taking it safe with the grind, which is giving Valvalis Skunk a good opportunity to come into this Val fight. And it's annoying, but once that jump comes off, I believe we're going to go and see some fried hair.
Ooh, I'm not sure I like this though. Again, Valveless, has this party of mages, but is zerking Kane.
Oh, yes, I agree. That is, Kane's gonna do some damage, but this is, I agree.
Yeah, it won't take too long. Let's see. I mean, probably about 18 hits or so with that amount of damage. Does have 2 sources of blink, but yeah, I'm not sure if spell defense is impenetrable at this location. Not going to be doing anything with those nukes. So it's all down to just blinks and Kane, blinks and Kane.
Yeah, that's frequently it's good to go and leave Val in that spinning state because Val's script alternates between punches and weakened Ray, which can be mitigated with a variety of different ways. While if Val is not spinning, they're just punching all the time and throwing a lot of damage. But you're in your 50s, you have Nuke. Nuke is just going to go and destroy Valvalis. So that is giving Mechalink a bit of extra breathing room, I think.
Yeah, and just to confirm, I'm going to the Valveless reference spreadsheet. Yeah, this spot does have maximum defense, magic defense. It has the 255, 99, 255 thing. You're not going to get a nuke through here. And the physical defense is pretty much tied for second here with 4 evade multipliers. So any hit past the first 4, you're getting your full damage on, but it's still a little rude. And again, the only character really doing anything here for the damage is Kane.
Yeah, this is definitely going to take a bit longer than Valvalis probably wants, but he will get through this fight as he's got 2 blinkers and he's got sources of heal, and Kane is just going to constantly do damage. But this is giving Mechalink time to go and get his levels even higher, though. Mechalink, your Rosa has 2,500 HP. I'm curious as to what you're grinding up to. And we do see Marilyn is through that Valvalis and is in the underground, so they're ready to go to the moon, while Marinoko is up on the moon heading to that the Ogopogo spot, while Mecha has finished their grind and is now ready to, I believe, take on the final fight and go to the end.
So we're going to see these finishes coming in pretty quickly and furiously, I dare say.
Oh yeah, I don't
just again, all our featured racers have cleared the way forward, more or less. They're all in no mode.
Yeah, I believe.
Only finisher is Dusty though. Where's everyone else here? Come on, y'all gotta step up.
I know. Marilyn is going and taking a quick shopping trip, it seems, and but with the exception of, technically Marilyn has 2 objectives: to get Cecil and to go to the altar on the Masamune altar down in the Ogopogo spot, but Cecil's on the lunar dais, so going to that spot is going to go and get them. I am a real smart person. They have Cecil. They went and got an Excalibur for Cecil, so they literally just have to go and get to that Masamune altar and have levels to kill Zeromus.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of, I think most of our Restream racers are going to be very close together here as well. We do finally have a 2nd place finisher and a 3rd place finisher. Dia and Fluria finished in 2nd and 3rd, and Zilch in 4th. Okay, these times are all within 12 seconds of each other. Dia in 2nd with a 146.30, Fluria with a 146.38, and Zilch with a 146.42, and Dragus with a 146.55 in 5th. That is 4 finishes within 25 seconds of each other. The snipes are real, y'all.
That's quite the flurry of finishes there.
Baka, nande nen.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We'll explain it later.
That's okay. Dia just sealed the deal.
I know you just got a pink name, but I'm gonna ban you anyway.
That's okay. That's not gonna save you.
Anyway, so look at Val and Mecha here, side by side. Val launching the Falcon at full level with the pass. Mecha gets the crystal. Is Mecha gonna go take a safety save? or just bum rush the bottom now that he's seen all these not dones come in. 2nd through 5th have all been claimed.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time for anything but, and Valvelis is going back to Dwarf Castle. I wonder if they need to pick up Starvels or something, because they need to get going, and Mechalink just diving down.
Excellent. You love to see it. That's my favorite thing. Anytime the Masamune altar is one of the objectives, just let people have the opportunity to go directly to Zeromus without saving.
Just charge on down. I mean, it wasn't the most dangerous of fights, but it's still a fight, and Mechalink taking the extra safety of using that silver apple on Rosa to give them the extra 50 HP. I'd mock it, but there's been enough times when Rosa's been at very low digits to not be in a good shape. But I do believe we have one very important question to ask.
I mean, there are all these flags in chat. What's up with the all these Z's? Is everyone sleepy? Is it bedtime?
It looks like bedtime to me. It sounds fine. I mean, I don't think we even have a Z flag on this randomizer anymore.
Oh no, it's butt time. It's butt time, not bedtime. My bad.
Okay.
Whose butt are we gonna kick tonight, Baka?
I do believe we're going to kick Zeromus's butt, or maybe not, because we don't bring Zeromus into the normal boss pool because he's a bit too much, well, everything to bring into the normal boss pool, but we don't want to leave him as is, so get your Z flags out in chat as we find out whose butt we're kicking tonight.
And Mecha does make it into the fight a few seconds ahead of Val. That is a very old butt. That is the first Final Fantasy boss of all Final Fantasy bosses. We're going retro tonight.
He's trying to knock us flat. Will we go and knock him back?
Yeah, the first butt. A time-traveling butt from 2000 and a few extra decades into the past.
I'd say he cheats, but so do we, so, you know, it's all fair. He time travels into the past, we time travel through stable time loops in order to go and break something.
I know, by the way, that Mecha actually ditched that Cecil and went and picked up the Rydia from the Sand Ruby. Gotta make the agility situation even better. Her base agility, I believe, is 4 at level 1, so everyone on his team is going to be as fast as Garland here. And once the Zerks get going, not going to be any problems here. Main thing is hoping that he gets a refill before a black hole comes out, just so he doesn't have to re-Zerk up the entire team.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest loss for Mecha, is if... I don't think a Big Bang is going to go and really hurt his team too much, but a black hole would be pretty devastating for this team, with Rosa being the only source of Berserk. But speaking of devastating, we have 6th place being taken by Korik with a time of 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 56 seconds. We are in very, very close things, as Valvelis and Mecha are duking it out for 7th now. And we see that Valvelis has got his reflex up and is ready to go and just start laying into this into Garland Mist, while Mecha has his berserks going and is just knocking down Garland's HP bit by bit. And throwing a Cure 3 on Dosa. Did Mechalink go and throw up a Star Bell on Rosa and is expecting to go and do some hybrid strats?
I would be surprised at that. Mecha is rocking both an Artemis bow and a Heroine robe on his Rosa, so her actual healing and, you know, offensive magic of casting Holy are dropped pretty low. Like this Cure 4, okay, I say pretty low.
It's still Rosa. She's still broken.
It's still Rosa. But I think he took the Artemis bow off right before he cast that, so the Heroine robe's not going to be causing too much of a penalty. If we had kept both of them on, probably would have seen that maybe barely getting into the 4 digits.
Yeah, I wonder if Mechalink is going to throw the Artemis bow back on and Zerk Rosa if Garland Mist doesn't get off a Big Bang here. But meanwhile, we see that Valvelis is just pushing away with the Reflect strats, going through how to heal with Rosa. Kane is passing his turn, so Balbalskunk is pushing hard on just finishing off Zeromus with... Ooh, Big Bang comes out, and Fu has the wall. That is going to knock down Fu. And we see that Mechalink is in Meteor phase. This might have turned, and Mechalink might be in prime position. We'll see who gets our photo finish.
It is definitely going to be a close one. Oh, and there's the crumble. Mechalink takes it of our 4 featured streamers. 7th place with a 152.55. And off-stream, right behind him, Poidrak is wrapped up in 8th place with a 153.16. Pretty sure we're going to see Val coming in cleanly here very soon. Just the way that this poor Garland is being dunked on by these powerful teams, not too much to worry about tonight.
Agreed. Garland is well, he's not knocking us down, but I believe we are joined by Mechalink, or at least we'll be joined with him shortly.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. GG's on the 7th place finish.
Thank you.
That was certainly quite the twin harp that led into things.
Yeah. This was an interesting seed. Yeah, twin harp was necessary.
What how did you feel about the team you're taking into that Zeromus fight?
Bad. I mean, did you see the gear that was on them? These initial fire claws and black belts, and one of them had a ninja hat. And
I mean, Young doesn't need gear. He has his fists.
Well, that was the point, right? That's why I was at level 54 on the completer, so like, we didn't need gear, we needed sirens and dragons. So, I mean, that was exactly why I overleveled, was in essence, right? Like, so there was a all Yang seed. I can't remember if it was an async or whatever, right? Like, very recently. And so I was familiar with the amount of damage that Yangs with Pat Claws at like moderate levels would do in Zeromus, like 45s, right? Like, it's not a lot, right? Like, it's fine, it's enough, but it's not a lot, right? Like, so you saw me over level there, knowing that to get 2K, right? Like, I needed to pump some levels into those Yangs, right? And that's what we got, right? Like, we got 7K around out of those guys, and that's enough, right? Like...
That certainly does make sense, because yeah, you were definitely grinding those dragons and taking them down pretty seriously for a while. So we're curious what was the real driving impetus. So thank you for sharing with that.
Right.
And
yeah, that all Yang seed gave me a bit of more insight on the damage potential of Yang in the end game. So.
And did you ever get around to checking package?
No, I did not.
That was a Fisoya.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing I'm mad about is that there weren't any Bacchus wines. Like, I was angling early, essentially for the Berserk Strats party, and the fact that there were no Bacchus wines really didn't help.
Yeah, that is definitely something that 4.0 has shifted, where items are definitely not guaranteed to be around in these shops, and Bacchus wines are... I think there's a 70% chance for any item to show up, so that's definitely makes Berserker a bit harder when you only have one Berserker.
And that was the other reason that I wanted those levels. I wasn't sure how quickly I was going to be able to get Berserk on people, right? Like, and so I wanted their damage to be good enough if I had to, manual mode it for a round or two, right? So like that all kind of fed into the over leveling. Yeah, not hitting Bacchus wines was a sad point. I fumbled around a little in the middle. I felt good. So on Friday, Marilyn beat me in the race, and part of it was that she went underground earlier than I did. So we were talking about that, and so I took that to heart this seed, where I went underground almost instantly to check all of the chests. On Friday, it was pro randomization, so the chests were better, right? Like, so the play was really good by her, and so. Yeah, like this was not as sweet a play, but still, like, there was a lot of stuff down there, and the Earth Crystal immediately like allowed us to loot a ton of stuff, but not a lot of it tier.
Yeah, that T Pro definitely goes in. It leans out some of the early chests that are popular with Antlion and Baron and whatnot, but it definitely goes and beefs up the Troya Treasury and that underground stuff. So I can definitely agree with wanting the underground sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that Earth Crystal, how did you feel finding it so early and free?
I mean, I was happy to know that it was there, like, and also, like, at the beginning, right, like, we were not looking at a stellar party either, like, we were looking at, like, I ended up taking most of that party, but we had double Yang, Sid, Rosa, right, like, that's not ideal, right, like, was what we were looking at, and so, like, having Earth Crystal meant we got 2 more shots, right, like, or whatever the first character was, no, it was Kane and Rosa, right, sorry. But yeah, like Kane was good, Rosa's good, and then double Yang is like okay. And so like I was hoping that the Earth Crystal would give us something better. Instead, it gave them, you know, a late-ish Palom that I wasn't necessarily. I was hoping not to use, and then Sid was like okay, right? Like this puts us on Berserk strats, right? Like what are the chances that we're going to hit Mage, and we knew that we had to get. I knew it was Cecil was in the seed, right? So we knew we were going to get Cecil at some point, right? So if we got him early enough and we got a good weapon for him, right, like that's another in favor of melee or hybrid strats, right? So it's kind of like, okay, right, like we're going to go melee or hybrid strats, right? Like this is fine. And then Cecil didn't show up until late and we never got a sword for him.
I believe Maryland went and finished Sealed Cave, taking out a Wyvern to go in Excalibur for their Cecil.
Yeah, it was Wyvern and Seal Cave. But yeah, we saw Legend there and my spoiler. So yeah, that would have gotten her an Excalibur. So yeah, that would have made her Cecil much better. And then yeah, I was like, okay, Cecil Anchor with the Dwarf Axe, right? Like that's some bad agility, right? And I'm like, 8's not bad enough. We're gonna check for Bacchus Wines in the last place I haven't checked, which they weren't there, and we're gonna get Bedridia for the 4. Like that was that last visit to Kaipa was the last gasp at Bacchus Wines and taking my agility anchor to truly horrific numbers.
That level 1 Rydia definitely does go and do a great job of anchoring your party, because I'm pretty sure that's the lowest agility you're going to get in the game without a
modification. But yeah, like a Cecil at 8, right? Like 5 times that is 40, right? Like my characters aren't getting to 40. Right, like so, like I'm legitimately not getting the anchor I want. Right, like we want, right, like Berserk strats, we want relative agility 1 for everybody. Right, like if we can help it. So yeah, like going back and getting Rydia was key to an agility setup that was going to work with this bad Berserk strat. So like at the end game, like I kind of put together the right puzzle pieces. But yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a finish. Do you have any final thoughts on the seed?
Not particularly. Like that was interesting, right? Like, oh, I loved that we had the D-Lunars and nobody that had to attack. That's always funny because they're like, oh no, if you melee attack them, is oh wait, none of us have to use the attack command. We're fine. It's fine. So that was a kind of a funny little note. Yeah. That Baigan fight was rough, right? Like, and the fact that the Yangs were doing so little damage was exactly what ends up, like, what I was talking about with the Yangs. It's like, they're in the Baigan fight, they're in the mid-levels, and they're still not cracking 1,000 every time Berserked. Like, that was a slow fight. I'm glad it paid out. Like, I'm... like...
Yeah, Baigan was definitely a rude roadblock to the Darkness Crystal. I guess the final question I have for you is, are you planning on joining the Fabul Gauntlet?
I have to see what the scheduling situation is like for that, but I'm only committed to weekends with Magic stuff that I do, so probably. I always feel like I perform better when I'm racing and racing regularly, and this is a game where you can feel the rust, right? Like, you can feel the mistakes as you make them, at least I can. And so, like, I can feel the rust, and like knocking that rust off will be a treat. Will be something I'll enjoy in the Fabul Gauntlet. So I'm hoping to.
All right. Well, congratulations on your finish, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the Fabul Gauntlet if you can make it.
All right.
And that is Necklink signing off, but I believe we are now joined by Valhalla Skunk. Congratulations on the 9th place finish, Valhalla Skunk.
Thanks.
So how did you feel about that hook?
I've seen worse. I'm really happy with how that turned out overall, because I still didn't have to do Ordeals, and yeah, I could have ignored Antlion, but
Yeah, I missed that you skipped that check for so long, that is definitely a bold check to skip so early, because you went some very interesting places early. You were, how many spots did you clear before you were going up Tower of Zot?
I think I did Fey March, Sylph Cave, Fabul, and Sheila.
Yeah, that was a pretty low level to go up Zot then. How did you, what drove you there, aside from being required to complete it?
I wasn't too worried about it unless there was something there. I had set a save outside just in case. Oh, look, that's Wyvern. Let's go somewhere else.
That is a very fair thing to say, as, well, we all know how great Wyvern is to see in certain spots.
But seeing Asura there, it's like, yeah, I don't think my Star Veils are going to last the entire time, but let's take advantage of them and then just Lifelock her after.
Yeah, that was it definitely was a long fight, but then you got that Palom and Sid. So that definitely went. And how do you feel that helped your seed in general, or were you looking for someone a bit more potent from that Zot check?
I was happy with the Palom and Sid because I still had a lot of things to do. And Sid is pretty good in the early game. Palom, he's just good in general. And I had a Kane and I think it was the Punch Man.
Yeah, you started with Yang, the Punch Wizard, who some people kept him, some people decided that they wanted to go and have characters who could do damage early.
Yeah, I decided I wasn't going to keep Yang simply because he takes too much experience to really get online. I didn't have enough gear to warrant him. Granted, I didn't have enough gear for Kane either, but Kane, I feel, is just infinitely more useful than Yang.
Can't disagree there. That Blizzard Spear did a fair amount of work, and you definitely went and used Kane pretty well to clear out a lot of the moon and help out through some really rough fights. What
Go on.
I was just going to ask, how did you feel about that Evil Wall?
Evil Wall, he's annoying no matter where you get him. The nice thing is, I had Rosa, I had food. That's 2 sources of blink. I just gotta blink until crush phase, and then the fight's pretty free from there.
That is you definitely seem to, you really struggled through the early parts where you're getting knocked down for a bit, and then you stabilize in that crush phase. And I'm not gonna pretend I wasn't going and Inven believed in you. I was a bit more dubious, but you proved me wrong pretty handily there. You really handled that very well.
I mean, I may not be racing as much as I used to, but I still play a good bit of FE. I still know how to handle some of the tougher fights. Yeah, I've still got a long ways to go, but, I've handled Evil Wall there at lower levels. It's just literally, once you can get enough blinks up to survive his attacks, you're generally okay. You just got to get to crush phase.
That is a very good and salient point, which I imagine a lot of people can go and use, myself included. That was another very solid point. How did you feel in general once you found you cleared the full moon and you still didn't have Twin Harp and no one was done yet? What were your thoughts at that point?
Oh, I had Twin Harp. I was just like, okay, I have Tower Key, Twin Harp, and Luca Cave, and I think I had Odin left and Antlion, so I'm like, I'm gonna do Tower Lower Babel. If it's not there, I will rush over to Antlion and then go to Twin Heart from there. If it's not there, well, everyone's probably skipped Silk Cave.
Very fair, and Speaking of Sealed Cave, I did like your save in front of Sealed Cave and then going to turn in the pan. That was a very heads-up play on your part, which was very impressive.
I learned save and quit a lot, or not save and quit, reset more from watching Invenerable, so I can't take all credit.
He is a very good save scummer. That is for certain. And yeah, how did you feel about the season in general, and how do you feel about the Fabul Gauntlet that's coming up?
I hope I draw Invenerable so I can beat him once in my life and be happy. But I will definitely be competing in the Fabul Gauntlet. And I like these flags because they give you a nice sense of randomness while still being, who routes the best.
I agree. That's definitely one of those. This is definitely going to be a flag set where you can't just look into a fair amount of victory. You really have to go and know how to be efficient, but there's a lot to go and search and find in here. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of these playing. I'm looking forward to seeing you play more in this tournament.
Well, Val, we would have pretty much tied to that one because, I don't do Twin Harp either. We would have just been running around on the moon together, wondering where the hook went, just like, what's going on?
Oh, I like doing Twin Harp, but I'd already done Zod, I'd already done Bear, and it's like, well, that check is going to be isolated for a very long time. And Moon, let's get my party ready for Z.
Yeah, you certainly had a very nice party ready for Z once you took out that Valvalis.
I always forget about her magic dodge, though, and that was like, well, Blizzard Kane's spear go. But yeah, this flag set's a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to the Fabul Gauntlet starting in February once I actually get to sit down and read the rules and all that. And hopefully can do well, progress past the, the qualifier stage?
Yeah, so it'll be Swiss for qualifiers, then a best of 3, and then we'll be going into the final stages. So there'll be a good number of rounds of Swiss. So definitely, 1 or 2 early losses, you'll definitely still be in good shape to qualify if you can steal some wins.
So don't draw Dusty, don't draw Simbu, don't draw Invenerable, Penguin. There's so many good runners. If I make it out of the qualifier Swiss round, I will be ecstatic.
I hope to see you get through there, and I hope to see you there.
But thanks for having me. I am going to go start having dinner.
Enjoy your dinner and have a nice night. Congratulations again on your 9th place finish.
Thank you, and thank you all for your hard work, Invenerable, Baka, Scala, and Date.
All right, and I believe we are also now joined by both Marilyn and Miari Noko. GG's to you both.
Thank you. GG.
Just generally, we have announced the upcoming late winter, early spring tournament with this exact flag set as the opening Swiss rounds. How comfortable did each of you feel playing it tonight? You can feel free to talk about the specific objectives you were offered and how you routed it. And let's start with, Miari first, since you don't have the mute symbol next to your name.
All right. I really prioritized the character checks on this one, which kind of got me in a bit of trouble with Asura. But the flag set itself seems... It seems pretty fine to me. Of course, random objectives mean anything goes.
Yeah, how did you feel about that requiring to launch the Falcon after starting with the Magma Key?
I was quite nervous about trying to find the hook. That was something that was always on my mind. I also had quite a bit of trouble with Asura. In particular, I had made the mistake of resetting out of Fusoya at package and thinking I really should have obtained him first before going to Zod, because that wound up being a really slow battle.
Well, on my end, I did get him before going to Zot, but at the same time, he didn't have any good spells until, like, directly after Zot, so I just basically had to beat him down with beat the Asura down with the lifelock. And
I had that heart-crushing moment where the Star Veil ran out and Ashura cure forward for 7,000 health.
that might have happened a couple times to me as well. As for the hook, that's why I didn't want to go to the moon until everything else was done. Like, if the hook is just hanging around on the Earth and I go up to the moon and clear that, that's a lot of time wasted.
Yeah, the hook placement certainly stymied a number of people on the restream, as one of the restreamed runners did go and clear the moon before coming back to Earth to finish things off. That it's not unsurprising that or unreasonable to go and not be terribly interested in diving into that moon early when you still need to find that hook and complete it.
I was really lucky because I had the pan check and I decided I remember thinking I was low on silk webs and I wanted more illusions for the moon dive, but I turned in the pan and just happened to have the hook, so I was very lucky in that regard.
With Evelyn Caves telling you all the things you really wanted.
Pretty much, although I did spend my money on arrows and elixirs instead of the illusions, which might have bit me a little bit against Evil Wall.
I think the other big mistake I definitely felt I made was I decided to let go of Kane, which made my Valvalis fight really slow.
That was very unfortunate because you also didn't see that you didn't have that white spear in hand until after you released them, which was definitely unfortunate. And Valvalis is one of the few bosses who will just make you feel very sad when you lose your Kane.
Yeah, and I also didn't have heals, and I think my Fusoya actually got petrified, and I was a bit worried that I would actually just get petrified and lose.
Yeah, Val is an interesting fight of attrition because you do have both fronts of needing to deal with the weak and deal with the gradual petrify from those rays, and even at high levels you can go and run into some trouble. So that was a particularly rude, definitely not the intended path underground, Valvalis.
Absolutely.
I think my thought was, we haven't been finding good weapons, and I think my Kane had like a Blizzard Spear, whereas I had the Adamant, and I thought maybe I could get an Excal for Cecil, and I wanted to keep my two Yangs because he doesn't need weapons, so he could just grow, but that wound up biting me a bit.
Yeah, Wyvern was definitely not the kindest boss to deal with. You did go and get through them on your second attempt second fight attempt, which is definitely admirable because Wyvern's rude, especially in Sealed Wall. So,
when I saw that, I just got out of there.
The Cuckold shop having both Crystal and Protect Rings was at least a nice consolation prize for that.
Those are two very good pieces of gear, and I don't know if we found too many other strength boosting gears, and extra agility is certainly helpful, so I can understand making good use of those. So any of you guys either of you have final thoughts on the seed or the flags for the Fabul Gauntlet, and are you planning on joining the Fabul Gauntlet when it starts up?
I'm not quite sure yet because I live in New Zealand, so I'm not sure if it would be friendly for people who can't usually make the 8 EST or anything like that. But as far as the seed itself goes, that seems to be quite pleasant, and random objectives means that no two races are the same.
One thing I will point out to you that no matter what part of the world you live in, hopefully you can still find times that work. One of the difficulties we did have with the Hummingway Open was to get 4 people to be able to agree to a time each week. very hard. But ideally, since these are 1v1 matches and you just have to find that one common bond between you and your opponent, fingers crossed that you'll be able to actually get those in.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably still make, say, Friday nights. You know, that would still be my Saturday morning, but for instance, Monday nights are usually not workable for me. This was just an exception.
Very understandable, but again, you'll be able to go and schedule time. So, and I believe the rules that you'll have a full week to go and schedule. So, it's not unreasonable to go and do that. We did have You're not the first person from that side of the world to go and join one of our tournaments, as we had another runner from Australia go and join us for the Highway to the Zenith Zone and make it pretty far into the tournament. But how about you, Murinoko? Do you plan on going and joining the Fabul Gauntlet?
I'm unsure, but that's nothing to do with timing. That's just what's up with my schedule and how things are going to play out there. I do want to join, and hopefully I don't pull this seat Asura so early, but free Enterprise is always fun, and it's always good to get out there and just race somebody.
Well, I hope both of you are able to join if you want to, and if you're happy with just watching, I'm sure we'll have a lot of good matches to watch in the meantime.
Definitely.
Well, and with that, I think we're probably about to call it quits here tonight on the Free Enterprise channel. Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. Very excited to announce that new tournament. Everyone, come and sign up, get involved on it. And yeah, we're looking forward to having a great winter into spring event. And it should be a good time. In the meantime, I think we are about to send it over to our friend of the community, admin, helps out with a lot of the technical side of tournament management here, the one and only Fred Coughlin. Baka, any final thoughts this evening before we send it on over to Fred?
I think we're looking forward to a great tournament season with this Fabul Gauntlet. I think we're going to have some very interesting and fun flags coming up. And I hope everyone had a great evening. Give Fred your love, and let's see what happens next with the Fabul Gauntlet.
Good night, everyone.